everyone, and welcome to Wanderer's Haven. I am your humble host for this evening, Miko, otherwise known as the OKSGM, and tonight we get to play part 2 of Intresca's Requiem, a very, very special game, special to me anyway, and I hope special to other people as well, because this is all built in the world of Ysterra, a world of my own making that I am very, very proud of and hope to see grow even more. Audio good? I'm hoping we're not. I hope we are not dealing with the gremlins that we dealt with last week. We shall find out soon enough, I am sure. Before we get too deep into the story that we are about to tell, though, I would like to introduce everyone to the amazing players that I have with me tonight. 4 of our 5 intrepid adventurers from last week have decided that I am an okay enough GM to join us once again. One of them decided that he wanted to get a nasty fever and a head cold. Ian, we miss you. We love you, bro. Please come back to us soon, because no, I am not going to be able to do any kind of justice to Akris tonight. So hopefully me tormenting you with the awful experience of getting to play Akris will be enough to bring you back. Let's
healed.
go. I wish it was that easy.
Right?
Right.
Let us go around the table then and introduce ourselves, please. Tell us who you are and a little bit about the character that you'll be playing tonight. Let's start with Miss Beth.
Hi, I am Beth, and tonight, and for the rest of this game, presumably, I will be playing Barrick, a military dude, military strategist, guy who kind of got everybody into this mess. Can't wait.
I mean, the Emperor didn't have anything to do with it at all. So,
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean, Barrick's the one who antagonized the Emperor into making us do it, but...
Was that Barrick, or did maybe Devalian have something to do with it?
No, not time.
As
Never,
well.
never do such a thing. Dare you jest?
Speaking of Devalian, Kevin, why don't you tell us about the Devalian a little bit?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, hi, I'm Kevin. And also, like Beth is saying, hopefully for this entire game, I will be playing my character who is Devalian Illustriel. He is a high-ranking noble elf who practices the art of the blade song. So he is here to keep an eye on these guys and to party the whole livelong day as we do so. So glad to be back.
And we're glad that you are here too. You'll be playing that character for at least a majority of the session anyway. I can't vouch for, when they're gonna die. But
Right.
Spoilers. No. Deb, can you please save us from ourselves here and introduce yourself and Cassia?
I can't guarantee that.
Okay, can you perform a miracle?
Right, yes. I'm Deb. I am playing Cassia. She is a half-elf cleric, a knowledge cleric in the Church of Apraxis, who is the Ascendant, whose realms are education and invention. And of the other characters on screen, she is least fond of Devalian, so I think she probably hopes that he's gonna die soon.
Whoa.
Maybe she'll have a hand in it.
Maybe.
Yes, I love that for us, Deb. That's great.
Yeah.
I do think that we learned that Cassia has some secrets.
A few.
yes.
Yes.
And last but not least, master of the nightmares that seems to have an effect on everyone last game. Jeremy, please tell us about Zorvir.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm Jeremy.
You
I'm
blocked it
replaying
from you blocked all of
Right.
last week from your memory.
All I remember is I was running downhill through a field of flowers, and there was a young girl there, and we were holding hands. No, wait. That was Little House on the Prairie. Okay, so...
Like I gave PTSD in just one session, Nico. Nice job.
I do my best.
So I'm playing Zorvir, the character who I think introduced, or who really inspired the line, "The taxman cometh." So we will see how, on top of being everyone's favorite person to run into, his own horrific backstory will affect everyone If you don't get it, you need to go back and watch last week's episode. Still available on Twitch.
Yeah, and
soon available on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, hopefully
Nice.
we'll get it up on YouTube soon. I am trying to edit out all of the technical issues that we had last out of the video to make it actually watchable. But we shall see where that lands.
So we're moving this.
Oh.
We just put everybody's character art over their faces.
Sure.
Then I can't do anything about my face. So having you all here definitely helps me, feel as though I'm not the one being focused. But speaking of focus, I guess now I need to actually transition the scene so that you only see my face, so that I can give you all
Good luck, everyone.
a bit of a recap and say where things are at and where they're going. So let's go ahead.
Harrowing.
Yes, let's go ahead and do that. When last we introduced our characters, when last we met, we introduced our characters, rather, these high-stakes individuals in this great and wonderful world of Ysterra, members of the upper echelons of society in the vast empire that is Intresca, having conquered the vast majority of the continent of Insaris. Intresca stands as a beacon of conquest across the world. Intresca's emperor, Geronton Trescain, having ruled for nearly 5 centuries, has begun in recent decades to think of himself more than a man, someone with the power and the authority of perhaps an ascendant, the deific-like beings that roam the world, protecting it from the vast powers of the multiverse that would cause the world harm. In this era of history, referred to as the Age of Steel Supremacy, the Empire of Intresca has stood as a monument to Geronton's ambitions and his thirst for control over the world. Intresca's marvelous cities stand as exemplary examples of architecture for the world over. A blend of robust fortresses and delicate spires filled with the clamor of bustling markets and the rhythmic pounding of forge hammers. Intresca is a almost perfect blending of magic and innovation demonstrated in its citizens and their genius. The glow of the sun off of carbon steel blades, the arcane luminescence in the eyes of mages studying at the magnificent spires of learning and knowledge stand testament to not only the power of Intresca, but also the power of its citizenry. Yet beneath the surface of this powerful empire, a storm is brewing. Echoes of discontent grow louder. The seeds of rebellion, sown during the abolition of slavery and nurtured by the injustices borne by the servant class, are beginning to spread. Rumors whispered in hushed tones speak of brewing discontent in society, and that society stands on the verge of insurrection. Intrescan society stands in a paradigm shift, rife with intrigue. The grand ballrooms of the nobility that were once filled with light-hearted laughter and the clinking of wine glasses now echo with hushed conspiracies and veiled threats. In the back alleys and taverns, gruntled servants and former slaves plot in whispers, their eyes gleaming with the fires of rebellion. And now, these rumors of discontent have reached the ears of the Emperor, and he has called upon his most prestigious cohorts among the nobility and high-class individuals around him to quell this threat, to quiet the rumors, to crush those that would dare stand in defiance of their emperor. How this is done remains to be seen, for the rumors of rebellion are now also echoed with rumors that this force of countenance against the rebellion has been chosen too hastily, has not been given the power to succeed, and indeed is not up to the task of what awaits them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us back to a few days after the events of the Festival of Steel, when Beric was confronted by Emperor Gerontin himself and asked why the vast and powerful Legionis, the perfect portion of the armies of Intresca that are sent to conquer everything, why they have not come and quelled this unrest, this rebellion. To which Beric responded that they weren't necessary, to perhaps maybe a smaller, more expeditionary force could be endeavored to bring heal this potential growing resentment and rebellion within the confines of the Empire's borders. And to that end, the Emperor tasked him, along with a few other individuals seemingly chosen at random from amongst those that were gathered for the festival, to venture forth to meet up with a century of the Aegis battalions, a century being 100 troops of the Aegis battalions, and quell this unrest, lest the Emperor become even more enraged. Now, a couple of days after those events, Beric, everyone having done at least some measure of preparation for this daunting task ahead, individually, Beric has called all to come to his home, to venture out onto his veranda patio for a hopefully nice and pleasant dinner and conversation, and to make plans for what comes next. Beth, could you describe the Beric home for all of us?
Absolutely. So this is an absolutely beautiful estate, though not as large as many of the estates here. It's absolutely more than what Beric has had, particularly growing up. So it's kind of like a point of pride for him, but it also is strange. Even though it's home, it feels a little different. But like you had said, there is a large veranda that sort of looks over an orchard, and everything has been set up there to entertain the guests. I know you did say that I invited everyone over, but let's be honest, Meryl invited everyone over because that's what you're supposed to do for these things, and I agreed.
Meryl being Beric's wife, for everyone
Yes.
not in the know.
That's true, yes. But yeah, we will have prepared some good food and, a few drinks, but knowing this crowd, perhaps not too much. And he will just pace around until folks arrive, just eager to get moving.
So I do believe that Acris would very likely be the first to arrive, given given
Beric.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Given Beric's close ties to the young Dragonborn, and he would arrive with perhaps a bit of questioning as to what realistically would like him to do during this evening. He is naive, perhaps, to these matters, but he still stands there as a loyal friend of Beric's to assist wherever and whenever he can, even if that means sharing a drink with a snotty noble elf man. That being said, though, amongst our remaining players here, who among you thinks when you might arrive, or who might arrive next?
Well, if there is a party to be had and drink to be shared, I believe that Develian would make haste. He will arrive. He will come in a little bit of an appointed carriage that will then have its driver depart, leaving him there. He will stop for a moment, and when we first see him, he is looking at the estate. He speaks to himself almost as he says, "I'm not sure if I appreciate what's going on here. It would seem that there's more than meets the eye to everything around me." And then he'll strut up, and as he does, he will come up and is there servants here, Barrick? Do you have servants or?
There's a couple, not
Yeah.
many, but
Okay.
they're more like stewards.
Okay.
Servant is a frowned upon term these days in Intrescan society. These are gainfully employed people that love working for the Barrick household.
Yes, of course. I had forgotten that the human race has grown since the time when I first encountered them nearly 150 years ago. No bother. You there, good servant man, and I will give to him a very exquisite, very appointed bottle of this really expensive wine. It's not exactly my custom, but I know that this is how things go amongst the humans. They like to bring a gift to the home when they come. I mean, traditionally, when you are at an elven party, the gift is given to you when you arrive, as things should be. But however, he'll, as they say, when you are at the home, you will do what you need to do. So he will stand there and then he will simply wait for the the steward to announce him and to let him in properly.
Of which Develian might be surprised to find the steward is trained in all the necessary courtly rituals and welcomes Develian into the household and announces his presence. Meryl, I think, will be the first to greet Develian, and she will have a practiced smile upon her face, with her hands gently placed over top of one another in front of her, as she bows ever so slightly, welcoming Develian into their home, and gesturing towards the back veranda where Barrick is waiting.
Yes, so Develian will bow deeply, and as he stands, "Forgive me, lady, had I known that the true beauty of the estate was to greet me at the door, I would have brought more than just wine." And he will walk past her, he will go out into where the courtyard is. "Lord Barrick, I greet you warmly, friend."
Develian, it is, it's nice to see you here. I hope that you're hungry and eager to learn what this journey is going to entail.
Of course, I am eagerly awaiting every bit of food and information that you can glean, good sir. May I sit here? And I'll sit on some satay or
Please.
something.
Make yourself comfortable. There are drinks. I'll get you something, and then he'll head off to grab something as a means of escape.
Okay.
Okay.
I sit down on like a satay or something, lean back, one arm up, kind of playing with my fingers a little bit as I just look around, take everything in.
You see Acris standing a few steps off of the veranda, kind of into the grass, feeling the grass with his feet, and seemingly taking in the evening air. The evening is somewhat cloudy. It's not in danger of like ill weather or anything of the sort, and this being a spring year, the weather is extremely pleasant, if not maybe a little bit cool for many. And Acris is just kind of taking it in, looking up at the moons in the sky, and just seemingly lost in his own thoughts, or at the very least purposefully trying to ignore Develian and look as though he is occupied with his own thoughts rather than engaging with him.
Well, I certainly will not disturb him in his own thoughts, for I know it takes a lot of concentration for him to focus on them. So I will simply just sit back and relax.
As you sit back and relax, Barrick returns with what I assume is a suitable beverage for the evening.
Oh. I thank you greatly, sir. I was not expecting the Lord of the Manor here to provide me with the refreshments.
Oh, you're welcome. How are you feeling, I guess, about what we have going on?
What we have going on about the party itself, I mean, I believe it could be used a bit more ostentatious decoration, but I mean, that's not entirely for me to say. I don't want to speak ill of your steward. So the one who met me at the door was rather stoic, shall I say. He didn't have much to say, but
Good.
that's all right.
I more meant, how are you feeling about this journey that we're going on?
Oh, yes, of course, this rebellion. Oh, I dare to think that we should not find any sort of evil ill will, but we must always be vigilant if there is to be things like that afoot. How do you feel about such a thing?
Well, we were tasked with a job, and we're going to go do the job. So that's how I feel about it. We'll talk more about this, I guess, when the rest of the guests arrive, but there's much to discuss.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
So, as the two of you are making pleasantries, I imagine that it doesn't take very long for either Cassia or Zorvir to show. Which of you is the most fashionably late?
I think Cassie is going to end up showing up next.
Great. Cass will show up not quite fashionably late, but as close to the appointed hour as she can get away with. She definitely doesn't show up early. And I think she sort of takes everything in and sees Akris outside and just sort of beelines for Akris and stands with him outside before facing the rest of the group.
Well, he is out back near the veranda, so
I don't see him yet.
Yeah, you probably have at least enough of a cordial rapport with Meryl to, be taken that way, and then see things from a strong enough distance to mention that you might want to avoid Davalion in the immediacy, and she could lead you to the back where you find Akris taking in the sons. And in that moment, I think, given Cassia's connections to Luniesh and her understanding of the moons, and seeing Akris looking up into the night sky, I think that she would be very intrigued to notice how much attention that he is paying to Lunara. The smallest of the moons, of the three moons, but also the one that is most prominent, at least for Cassia, because that is the birthplace of Luniesh. And he seems to kind of be lost in the gaze of it for quite some time, so much so that he doesn't even notice Cassia's approach.
I'll stand there just sort of gazing up at the sky with him for a while and not take I won't jump in and break his reverie very quickly.
Okay. With Cassia's arrival, that does not go unnoticed by others that might be nearby, especially those with very good passive perceptions, as Barrick and Davalion have. Do you all do anything in particular at Cassia's arrival?
I will stand, just making it known that I know that she's here.
Barrick never sat down. He'll nod towards her, but seeing her intent on meeting up with Akris, he'll sort of give space. Mostly because he wants to just give the kid a chance to sort of find his footing. So he'll just watch.
Okay. There's a good pause, not an uncomfortable one, but a long enough one that Cassia in particular would note that this gazing upon Lunara is not trivial to Akris. He seems very much within his thoughts and contemplating things before he notices her standing there and he immediately smiles upon seeing her, and kind of stumbles a little bit with his words before he says, "Oh, good evening, Lady Cassia. Thank you for your presence." And he cringes at his choice of words.
You seem deep in thought. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, and he kind of glances up at the moon and like makes the connection given what he knows of Cassia and such. And yes, well, I've always had a keen interest in the various Ascendant and where they are from and when, and it just strikes me as strange the ways in which they come into this world, and the notion that some powerful being fell from the heavens, seemingly torn from such a small moon itself. It's interesting, and something that I hadn't really considered before tonight, and seeing the beauty of Lunara.
The night before an adventure is often the time for new thoughts.
Is that what we're doing? Is this an adventure?
I'm trying to make a positive spin of it. I don't know what we're getting into.
I mean, we're going to be dealing with real people under potentially some very real circumstances if they're looking at rebelling against the Empire. That's pretty daunting.
It is. But when we come out the other side, we'll have a story to tell.
Yeah, I like that. And
Have you adventured quite before, Lady Ortesia? Am I to believe that you do more than simply tend to your books in your temple, as it were?
I don't know about adventuring, but I've seen a few things in my time.
Have you? Well, this is a party. Do tell. Tell us a tale. Weave us a bit of a story about something you might have seen.
Oh, I don't know that I have any tales that would interest you, Develian. But once upon a time, there was a young woman who was a little lost, and she wandered her way into an archive, and she met a powerful being who blessed her with gifts. And the end of that story has yet to be told, but she has been able to see the world in more ways than she would have before. But that sort of experience always comes with a cost.
It does sound like a good beginning to a story. However, I believe it needs a handsome stranger who will forever change the heroine's life. Do you believe so?
I don't know that every young woman needs a handsome stranger to come into her life to make it better.
So true. So true. There are seldom stories that I have heard that the reverse is not true as well, where the heroine changes the hero as well. Perhaps gains some insight into him and allows him to be better through her presence.
That is a possibility. It sounds like you are quite the teller of tales. Why don't you tell one of your own?
Well, I once knew a man from Nantucket. Oh wait, that's a different story. I believe a story that might be more fitting with us here. And I'll look over to Acris and I'll say, once upon a time, there was one of the ascendants in the sky. It burned brighter than all of the others around. And in its burning bright, the Ascendant longed for the cold, dark, desolate land known as the Earth. The Ascendant grew to love and to worship the Earth, to learn that they were intrinsically tied, you see. So, the Ascendant, like a bright burning star, came down and kissed the Earth tenderly, like lovers do in the dark of the night. And in this moment, a rare flower was born on the dark far side of the mountains far from here. That flower did have strange magical properties, properties that would perhaps allow the bearer to cure all ills and wills. There was an evil witch who seemed to claim this flower for her own. Alas, it was not to be. For a brave heroine, I'll say kind of nudging towards Cassia, actually undermined the witch, used the power for her own, and liberated an entire nation. It is a great play. I suggest that you all watch it sometime when it is performed in Intresca proper.
Noted. And with that awkward, pause and silence that occurs in after Develian's recitation of a play, Jeremy, here's a question for you in relation to Zorvir's arrival. Would he fly in, or would he be brought?
So it's funny you mentioned that, because he typically would not fly in, but perhaps partway through this reenactment of this play, they might hear the beating of wings overhead, and depending on how bright it is in this area, they might see him swoop over and land down the street so he can walk up to the front and appear as though he had come that way.
Okay, so they will see Zorvir's silhouette as he flies across the sky. They don't get to see Zorvir approach because obviously, this place has walls and such, as any proper noble home should. But the evening is well lit. One of the occurrences that you have with 3 moons is that it's very difficult to get a dark evening. And so the circumstances of your arrival make it such that everyone would have fairly easily been able to tell that you were on your way. And in you stride shortly after making yourself known across the sky. You're, of course, greeted by Meryl, who welcomes you very, very kindly, indicates that you are the last to arrive and that dinner will commence shortly. Leads you into the veranda where the table is set. There are some last-minute things being handled across the table as the stewards see you return or see you arrive, and go about the evening's procession of a meal that is to commence. The meal itself is, just for reference, not perhaps up to noble courtier standards, as it would have a little bit more heartier fare, but it is still it makes up for that perhaps ostentatiousness with quantity and quality more so than anything else. Meryl, of course, sits at the table for a brief period of time during the dinner as you are all sitting down to food and drinks, but at some point, probably most of the way through the dinner, she gives a nod to Barrick and quietly excuses herself from the table, leaving just the 5 of you to sit as she pulls the stewards after they finish refilling everyone's drinks, pulling them away as well to give you all the privacy that you need to discuss things.
Well, I hope everyone is well fed and ready to discuss tactics. We've got a bit of a situation ahead of us, and I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and ready to handle this professionally. This is going to be a fairly long and arduous journey. The whole thing should take perhaps more than 2 months. This is not going to be some short vacation, and he'll look at Develian.
I think
will
everybody
be-
looked at Develian when that was said.
Yeah. We will be met by a century of soldiers when we get a little bit closer to the danger. And we're going to rendezvous with them outside of an outpost called Tornara. We're going to be going by horse and carriage, so that should help with the time a little bit, but it will still take quite a while. So I hope that everyone plans on resting up before we begin, because it might be the last time that you get decent sleep. Again, looking at Develian. So I hope that everyone knows, yes, we will be meeting up with soldiers, and their intent is to be there to protect us and perhaps more, but our mission specifically is to get information. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to figure out what we can about this rebellion and bring the information back to the Emperor. Any questions?
That seems all on the up and up. Do we have any sort of idea as to where exactly our journey is to begin before Tornara, this quaint little town? I have a bit of a lead myself, but it could perhaps be conjecture on my part for the investigations that I have done.
Please share.
Does anyone else have anything? I don't wish to simply be the only one speaking at the party here. Zorvir, have you heard of anything?
Oh, no, please go ahead. I think I forgot. No, please continue. Zorvir's been very quiet and maybe a little disheveled.
Of course, old friend. Well, allow me to begin then. Unless I'll look at Acris. Unless anyone else objects, anyone else would have a bit of information. No? All right then. Well, I believe from the bits of information that I have already gleaned upon through hearing and listening and talking to the other constituents that I have within my sphere of influence within Intresca, that we might be dealing with an old threat to the throne. A noble line that exists that has perhaps quite a bit of a problem with the current reigning emperor. Do any of you know of the noble house of Sardathian?
Do we know of the noble house of Sardathian?
Right.
You guys can roll history checks if you like.
Sure. $27.
27.
Nice.
29.
Oh,
29.
nice.
Nice.
16.
Barrick has
That's all right too.
Barrick has heard the name Sardathian only because they are often used as a kind of boogeyman against people that would talk contrary to the Emperor's wishes. And certainly everything that Develian is about to say, Zorvir and Cassia already know fairly well as well. So you could all acknowledge that you have heard of the Sardathians.
Well, from your blank expression, young Mr. Acris, I would give you a bit of a rundown of the noble house so that you are properly informed of how to greet them should we have to face them during our journey.
Yeah, that would be good.
Absolute. Well, I'm sure all the rest of you know that House Sardathian was once a very prominent half-elven noble family within the Empire. Their crest depicted a silver phoenix, its wings majestically touching a golden crown that was set upon a backdrop of a royal blue. It was quite a sight to behold, I would say. The patriarch of the family, a Lord Kalis Sardathian, was renowned the entire nation wide for his diplomacy, his vast knowledge of the Empire's history, and his discourse over law. His dual heritage of elf and human allowed him almost ageless wisdom, wonder, and perhaps charisma. Characteristics that he brought to the courts and caused him to be both admired and feared in his time there. Well, his rise to power and his acclaimed stature would not last, because during a critical assembly in the imperial court, he disputed some of the emperor's proposed land reforms. He cited that perhaps the emperor was, his words not mine, foolish and uneducated properly as to the purposes of the land reforms. Well, he pointed out inconsistencies, contradictions within the proposals, and the emperor did not like this one bit at all, as we could, of course, conclude. His challenge was perceived, of course, as a threat to the empire, direct insult to the emperor's authority. And, of course, he was, as our good emperor is known in his just wisdom, properly removed from the court and had several of his, shall we say, appointments stripped away from him. Well, the tale does not end there, friends. For you see, in his disgrace, the Sardathian family retreated from the limelight, rejecting the courts itself, seeking solace within their ancestral estates. Well, in this time, there have been rumors that perhaps they have been plotting against the Emperor in a sort of revenge plot, a way to perhaps gain their honor back by striking down the Emperor who once made them look foolish. I find this as no small coincidence that their power is starting to grow right as we hear tales of this rebellion and threats against our good, just, kind Emperor. It could be nothing but my experience with Lord Kalis once upon a time makes me believe that this would not be too far from the truth. I know it is a lot, Lord Acris. I see that I have wrecked you all stunned with my great oratory skills, and forgive me for that. If you must, please take a drink of your wines, your meads, your beverages. Collect yourselves before we commence again.
Zorvir he's like sipping some tea. I've been trying to figure this out. Do Aarakocra have like special glasses or cups, or do they just like
Straws.
Right, because trying to drink from a cup has got to be weird with a beak. But
Straws don't
They were
work with
first. They were the first to ever craft steel straws.
Nice.
Love it. So he's sipping his tea through a straw, or he waves his hand. I don't think that we're going to see any of this Sardassian family. It's all rumor. And then he just kind of mumbles and goes back to his tea.
Well, old friend, I say, because I'm sitting directly next to him, do you have information that I do not? Have you heard of a new revelation within Crestfall?
No, I believe that it's more, we just need to remind the people that they're, of the benefit of their position as members of the Empire. I think this is all being extraordinarily conflated out of fear and rumor mongering.
So you believe this rebellion is not to have much stock either, then?
Oh, I would be surprised if we saw anything more than a handful of farmers with their pitchforks.
I mean, could you truly imagine if farmers with pitchforks and torches could perhaps be organized enough to have a meeting such as this? Secret rendezvous between leaders that make plans underneath our noses?
I mean, having been amongst the people, granted, it has been quite a few years, but having been amongst the people, they're probably worrying about their latest
My brain just turned off.
Their latest crops, they have other things to be worrying about than rebellion.
What say you, Lord Beric? Do you believe that the common people only worry about their crops and not rebellions?
I think that I think that everybody worries about everything. Whether you are a farmer or a noble or anyone in between, I mean, you're living your life here, and there are concerns to be had. So, whoever this rebellion is, we should take them seriously. And like I said, we're just gathering information. So, now, in that beautiful tale that you spun, you mentioned Crestfall?
Oh, yes. Have any of you been to Crestfall? It's not that far from the destination of Tornara, if memory serves, although it has been nearly a century since I have traveled that direction. Do any of you have more recent knowledge?
Do any of us have more recent knowledge?
I don't think so.
Okay.
At this point, just based on the circumstances that you all are in, none of you really have any idea what you're going into, and the things that Develian is saying are the closest thing that you have to proper intelligence as to things related to the unrest, because everything at this point is rumors and conjecture, right? Nothing has been verified by anyone in any public circles, and certainly Zorvir and probably Beric would know and believe that Develian walks in certain circles that could possess information that they would not be privy to.
Have they been paying their taxes?
That area would probably be one of the most difficult areas for taxes to be collected, partly because it is so close to the wild tribelands, and so accurate records of what has been built and what has not been razed by barbarian raids and such makes it difficult, and it's also horrifyingly far. It's literally the farthest point that area is literally the farthest point that you can get from the capital. So,
but as far as I know, like, nothing's really changed there. Like, when taxes roll in, they roll in, and when they don't, they don't.
Yeah, and it's not really. There's not a lot of wealth out there as well. It's very, very poor. So it's one of those things that, I mean, it takes friggin' 5 months just to get someone there and back, right? And no one wants to spend magic to communicate with people that far distant. And there's a lot more worrisome things to deal with out there than to worry about, some farmer not paying his, 5 gold dragoons.
Right.
Well, for the sake of young Mr. Acaris here, I will once again regale you of Crestfall as I remember it. Young Mr. Acaris, you will learn that Crestfall, it's a quaint, remote town that's nestled in rolling hills of the eastern frontiers. It's known for far, verdant fields, good folk at one time. He looks around the table for a moment, and then he reaches over to a tumbler of some sort that has a really dark, like almost black liquid in it, and he pours it into his glass. He takes a sip. Yes. As he sits down, this specific drink, he says that the Crestfall is home to the Crestfall orchards, home to the prized ebon pears, and he holds up the drink and sets it down. For those of you who may not have feasted upon the ebon pears, they are a dark-hued fruit, quite delicious throughout the entire empire. A tart yet rather sweet taste. Yes, they recollect the senses nicely. Oh, anyway, forgive me with my daydreaming for a moment. Crestfall, despite the good folks who reside there, does have rumors that it is sometimes home to ne'er-do-wells, dissidents, outlaws, because of its distant nature to the capital itself. The people of Crestfall are known to be independent spirits, and so they sometimes allow these sorts of things because, well, who's going to stop them? This could perhaps be a very perfect place to be out of the way enough, if you catch my drift.
Well, that's actually helpful. I guess. Good to know.
I don't mean to counter your argument, Develian, but you need money in order to fund rebellions, and that area has long been ignored for even the most basic of taxes. It's
It would be worth mentioning in that line of thought, Jeremy, that Zorvir would remember the House Sardothian being like one of the most wealthy families to exist. Like they were basically 2 steps removed from the royal family.
So when they were stripped of their lands and titles and stuff, besides their ancestral home,
How good do you think wealthy people are at hiding their money?
right? So this was how long ago?
This would have happened about 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Okay, so this isn't like decades ago.
No, this is relatively recent.
He's gonna let that go. He's not gonna mention that.
Well, if the town of Crestfell has not been known to pay their taxes all that often, perhaps one could conjecture and wonder, where do the taxes' monies go? Are they being stockpiled?
It's not
for
that they
another
don't try. I'm sure that they're all very loyal members of the Empire, but the attacks by the raiding barbarians, they don't make it through.
Then perhaps I worry for nothing, friend. I'll have another sip of the pear. But is it called wine if it's made out of pears? I don't know. I'll have another drink of the fermented pear juice that I'm drinking.
Lady Cassia, do you have any specific thoughts on this?
I can't say that I do. We have some information, but it seems like not enough, and we can't make any judgments or make any action without as much information as we can get.
Agreed. And he'll look at Develian.
But surely, Miss Intresca, that you or Ortegia, that you do wish to reclaim your stolen relics, of course. Those tomes were rather important, from what I understand.
Of course.
Akris speaks up and is like, what does that have to do with what we're doing? Not that isn't important, as he looks at Cassia, but, like, we're supposed to go and stop a rebellion, right?
Well, please, Lady Ortegia, tell everyone, please, a bit about the stolen artifacts and what they might mean for the bigger picture.
There has been some conjecture and speculation that the tomes in particular that were stolen are ones that would be useful to individuals or groups looking to start a sort of rebellion, as it were. And so it is possible that these particular volumes have made their way out to the east.
Or at least are on their way.
But it's just as likely they could be going north or west or south. All of this conjecture does us no good.
Do you recommend then that since there are 5 of us that we all take the 4 main cardinal directions and head upon and try to find our own paths and see where things go?
That doesn't make any sense.
Akris kind of looks at Barrick and is like,
No. We stick together. We follow the
Split
plan.
the party 5 ways.
Of course I am being facetious. I simply am trying to point out to you that we must begin somewhere, friend Zorvir. We must begin our journey at a specific locale, some sort of lead that would gain us some sort of insight. I merely
Yes,
offer
yes.
one suggestion.
Akris looks at Barrick expectantly, since he is ostensibly the commander of this endeavor.
Cool.
Cool.
I mean, we do have a rendezvous point already picked out, Develian. I mentioned that before. Tornara. 3 weeks travel on foot, maybe a week in our horse and carriage.
No. Just to clarify for your notes, Beth,
Yeah.
2+ months travel to Tarnera, and
Yep.
then a few weeks travel to the region that you know to be where the rumors of rebellion are beginning, of
Got
which
it.
Crestfall is part of.
Okay. Well, I mean, at the very least, we know where we're going for 2 months. I think we can spend some time figuring out the next steps there, but we know we're going to be meeting up with additional forces, and that's just the best course of action for now.
Of course.
If I may, I want to stress that maybe we are thinking about this, or some of us are thinking about this in a matter that is going to end in conflict, and I'd rather aim for something that is more beneficial to the Empire. Dead people can't pay taxes.
That is
So-
true.
So what do we use the soldiers for?
That is a good question, friend.
Well, in all good truth, I believe that Lord Barrick has the right of it. I believe that we all must work together in this. We are coming together, a group of like-minded individuals, despite our very different commonplaces. So therefore, I would like to propose a toast here, as dinner is somewhat as far as I can tell anyway. I'm not entirely sure how many more courses are left, but close to wrapping up, as it were. I'll stand up and I'll grab that dark ebon pear drink off of the table, and I'll cross around the table to Barrick, and I'll stand next to him, put my hand on the back of his chair. Might I offer a toast for all of us here to know that we all are friends going forth in the world to stop a rebellion against the great powerful empire that has ruled over our lives, given us purpose, and perhaps given us a better tomorrow that we earn today. To each of you here, to each of you, I will say, kind of down to Barrick, and of course, to each of those we may come across in our need to make Intresca and the Empire safer and better. And I'll go to take a drink.
I will
Akris
stand
just
up
like,
and
yeah,
clink glasses with you.
Akris follows the laggingly follows Zorvir's lead and awkwardly stands and raises his glass and sips his drink a little bit as well. Do Barrick and Cassia have any particular response?
Cass will just raise an eyebrow and take a sip reluctantly.
Barrick will essentially do the same, all the while thinking about how this is not how things usually go for him. Normally, there is one directive, and you just go for it. But he'll make it work. Either way.
As this awkward moment kind of subsides, Barrick is rescued by Meryl as she makes her way in with, the stewards to offer everyone fresh drinks, suggesting, perhaps take a few moments. There's some dessert to be coming as people start clearing the tables and such. All of you kind of just step to the side a little bit, take in the evening air out on the veranda, and Develian, as you are about to, people start breaking off into groups a little bit. I imagine Akros sticks with Cassia to ask something, and Zorvir and Develian exchange nods or whatever, and Develian goes to speak to Barrick once more. But before we get into all of that, everyone pretty much except for Akros has a passive enough perception to notice a seeming flash of light that occurs off in the distance, off of a rooftop, some good 150 feet away, and
it's the paparazzi.
Yes, they're always looking. They're always looking for new bird pics. But that before anyone can really register what the flash means, all of a sudden, one of the trees of Barrick's orchard explodes, and I need for everyone to roll initiative, please.
Barrick, what the hell are you growing?
Do we have any disadvantage or anything because we've been drinking? No.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Akros is going to be surprised because he does not have good enough passive perception to realize anything that's going on. I will roll for him.
I'm doing a nat 20 dance, y'all.
Nice. I got a 19, which gave me a 23, but...
I rolled a hot 9.
Nice.
Ooh, that is hot.
13.
Nice. Okay. Well, Mr. Nat 20 technically gets to go first, but you don't see the source of any threats yet because they haven't gotten to act yet because they didn't get that high. They didn't get as high of initiative as you got.
Okay.
When you outpace the bad guy.
Yeah, when you outrun the bad guy.
Well, I think what I'm going to do then is I want to look around and see if I notice anything out of the ordinary. See if there's any. I mean, you said
there's a burning tree.
So
that's not
sure.
normal.
But I mean, can I make a perception check or anything? I mean, you said I won't know though, because they haven't done anything.
Sure, you can give me a perception check.
Okay.
And that will not take your action because I am not a jerk of a GM.
I've got a +6, which gives me a 22.
Okay. You think you see some faint movement where you had saw the glimmer of that flash of light. But that's all you can see that's out of the ordinary besides the burning tree.
Okay. Well, can I you know what? I'm just going to assume, because we're sitting here, we're in the middle of a terrace. This is a private party. I don't think anybody blowing up trees was invited. So can I possibly try to assume that maybe somebody is here to attack Barrick since it's his home? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw out of my coat what looks to be a small, about this long, quartz. It's made out of quartz. It looks like a quill, but it's made out of quartz. and as I cross over, I'm going to go over to Barrick, and as I do so,
You were
it
already
flick-
pretty much standing next
Oh,
to
okay,
Barrick, so
okay. So yeah, I pull out this quill, and as it spins in my hand, it elongates and turns into a rapier made out of quartz that has a weird dragon head down on the bottom of the handle of it, and it wraps up around the basket hilt wraps up around my hand as it finishes forming into a blade, and I just snap it down into a stance as I stand next to him, looking around for any sort of intrusion or anybody coming to attack us.
so you're gonna like ready an attack if somebody
yeah.
were to. Okay.
Yeah. Well, can I ready like an item or something?
You could ready a spell.
Okay.
Like you have a ranged spell attack, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
You could ready that if you see somebody,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll ready to attack, especially because I'm a warcaster. Yeah, I'm gonna ready an attack spell.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, as you ready for whatever threats seemingly are apparent, focusing on the shadows in the distance, you actually have perfect sight to see the shadow apparently stand up on the rooftop about 150 feet away, and 2 arrows get loosed in your direction, one seemingly headed towards you and one seemingly headed towards Barrick.
Oh.
So
well, can I activate an item instead? I didn't really ready that, but
it depends which item, because
I have a ring that is the ring of arcane shielding. What this does is if I activate the ring, it will create a shield spell around me and Lord Barrick at the same time.
Oh, I know what item you're talking about. That was yes. So the ring, you're not activating the ring. You're just activating a shield spell. So you're being attacked. So you could activate the shield spell, and that automatically activates the benefit of the ring.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I misread that when I wrote that down. Yeah, cool. That's even better then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Barrick, I'm assuming you're not wearing armor.
No.
And you
In
don't
the
have a
comfort of my own
shield.
home, I don't. I'm just a man.
So the shield spell will increase your armor class by 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something.
Yeah, it's something. Let's see. 14. Is that it? Is that my whole AC?
What's your dexterity bonus?
+4.
Yeah, so it would be 19 with the shield.
Cool.
Which is
better
great.
than my normal armor class.
Mine will be a 19 as well, because I don't have armor on either.
Okay.
Currently.
Which is very good for you, because that was an 18 and a 17 on the rolls to hit.
Okay.
So yes, as you two see these arrows fly in, Barrick, you haven't gotten to go yet, so you don't even have a reaction. You're not surprised per se, but you're a little bit caught off guard and flat-footed as this shield spell goes up just in time for arrows to look like they are about to punch into your cranium and into Devalian's chest. They ricochet off of the arcane ward and fly against like a nearby pillar and the ground, and as they crash into the ground, they shatter upon impact, and you see this acid-like poison dripping down off of the stonework in the vicinity of the arrows. And then all of you, not Acris because he does not have very good perception, but all of the rest of you, having the amazing perceptions that you do, are able to see this shadowy figure where the arrows came from vanish from sight as if he leapt off the side of the building.
Develian would yell out, "Protect the Lord of the Manor!"
Does Zorvir have anything in particular that he can do in this moment?
Yeah, so Zorvir reaches into a pouch and pulls out a small copper piece, and he whispers some words and flicks it in the air, and as it spins through the air, it disintegrates, and the dust comes back down and settles on him. And he's going to reach out with his mind and try and figure out if this shadow is still there. that person needs to be within 30 feet.
Oh, they were 150 feet away already.
Okay. So I will be paying attention to whether or not a mind that is not already here comes within 30 feet.
Ah, gotcha. Do you want to move further out into the courtyard to increase the area in which you could cover?
No,
with
that seems
that?
like a dangerous idea.
Okay.
There's projectiles flying through the air.
There are trees in this courtyard that you could find cover behind that would do
But there's
that.
this nice table here.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You reach out with this magic trying to touch other minds, and there are none that you touch that you did not already know exist.
Okay. So that'll last for, I think, a minute. Yeah, 1 minute.
Great.
Unless I lose concentration.
All
Nice.
right. I believe that means that Barrick is next.
Where's Meryl?
Meryl is like standing further in on the veranda carrying a plate of food and is looking up in shock. She has enough wherewithal to not drop her food or drop the plate and shriek in response to all of this, because like she's a pretty stone cold badass.
Yeah.
She looks like she's about to go for some cover.
Great. I will look to her and say, get inside. And then I want to put myself between, I guess, the wherever the arrows came from, even though presumably the person's not there, and Meryl, staying sort of away from her so as to not draw attention to her, but just sort of move myself there. And would I, so that would have been outside of my property where they were?
They were right at the edge of your property, basically on like an adjacent building to your property.
Would I know, presuming that they jumped down or whatever, would they have easy access to get in to my yard?
Not likely.
Okay.
Well, give me roll a perception check, actually.
I would love to. That's a 28.
Okay, then. The way that they jumped, it looked like they were jumping off of the back of the building, not leaping across to your wall to make their way into the courtyard.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better.
They're running.
They do look like they're running, so...
Yeah, I'm gonna, how's that tree? Burning?
Oh, yeah.
Burning a lot? Okay.
Burning a lot.
Catching other trees, or is this just, this
you don't
singular
have
tree?
a thick orchard.
Great, okay,
So,
then I'll just...
You've got a few
I'll let it
moments
happen.
before you have to overly worry about your entire estate going up in flame.
Fantastic. These are the things on my mind. Okay, I'm just gonna stay and try to keep ears and eyes open to see. I will have had my sword on me because that's who
Sure.
I am as a person. So I guess I'll just take it out and prepare myself for whatever might be around.
All right, Cassia, Deb, do you have anything that Cassia could do in this instance?
Yeah, she's just gonna cast Bless and hit Akris, Zorvir, and Barrick.
All right. So, for the sake of time, I am going to take us out of combat in this moment, since no one is since you guys are all taking a more or less defensive posture in this circumstance and not going to chase after whoever just tried to assassinate Barrick. There's a bit of a lull in this moment where everyone is breathing, suspenseful, waiting for the attacks to come, and no more come. And some time passes. Barrick takes over command because this is the kind of situation that he thrives in. He directs his stewards. You do have a couple of guardians that are stationed with you here on the estate, and so you task them to pursue the would-be assassin. And between everyone's plethora of magical abilities, coupled with stewards that can get pitchers and jugs of water and that sort of thing, you all are able to put out the flaming tree before it causes any further damage. Shortly thereafter, the guardsmen return along with a few members of the battalions, and they return with a cart that has a dead body covered in the back of it. And Barrick.
Gotcha.
I hate you. Barrick is
That's
summoned.
their couple name.
Yeah,
Right.
Barrick is summoned to the front of his estate to bear witness to the person they have identified as an assassin, or the assassin that attempted to take his life. He is a young man, probably not more than 20 or so years of age. He's wearing dark clothing, he has a torn hood, that sort of thing. His attire is not horrible, but it's worn. It's well used and worn. They don't know who the man is, but they provide to you a look at his possessions. The first thing that catches your mind, or that sight, that is a satchel. The satchel itself is fairly nondescript. However, Cassia, given her history roll from earlier that was fucking amazing, Zorvir might be able to put this together as well, but Cassia would put it together first. Cassia would recognize the satchel as being the kind and quality that the Sardathian family was famous for. And sure enough, she asks to look at it, or she is granted that opportunity, and she flips over to the inside to look for the maker's mark on the inside of the lip of it, and there is House Sardathian's logo neatly pressed into the side. It's well worn. It looks like it's seen some use and some age, and she also notices, in flipping it open, the possessions that are inside of it are fairly commonplace traveling needs, but what catches her eye are a handful of ebon pears as well. And Develian, and possibly Zorvir too, because I think this falls in line with his milieu of things that he would know about. Certainly Cassia would recognize it after Develian, because her eyes went to the satchel first. Develian sees an oath bow. And for those that do not know what an oath bow is, it is a weapon commonly used. It is crafted specifically by elven craftsmen. It is something that has been handed down over centuries as a skill that is given over to people, almost always elves. So the fact in this case that this is a human man not possessing elven qualities stands out. It's a bow that is given to people that have a vendetta, that have something they need to take avenge for. It is a weapon of assassins, particularly if they're trying to attack from range.
Sir Barrick, do you recognize this wretch?
I don't, do I? Okay.
No.
No.
Well, I certainly would hate to say I told you also.
I'd hate it too. Very much so.
It does seem that your words have more merit than we may have given them at dinner.
And as you guys are taking this information in, the battalion, the members of the Aegis battalion that are present, take the young man his body away along with his possessions, and they say, we will do an investigation. Extra members of the Aegis will be stationed here at your home while you're away to make sure that nothing happens to Meryl or anyone else.
Good.
Nice.
And so that
good
evening,
people. You got good people working for you. They just handled that guy. I love it.
They sure did.
and so you all return home. The evening's difficulties ringing in your minds and consciousnesses, but you still have to prepare yourselves because on the morrow you depart. Is there anything in particular that anyone wants to do before the morning?
So Zorvir was late because he was arguing with his granddaughter about his leaving in the first place, because he's leaving her, Arentha, in charge of Zarina's care, which is his wife. And so after this happens, and then the guards are like, we'll put extra people on your family to make sure they're safe. Zorvir leaves pretty soon after that, tries to make it seem, oh, I'm tired, and heads out. But essentially he steps out and then flies home as fast as possible just to make sure everything's okay. And so when he gets there, there's that like awkward him rushing into the house and finding Arentha and Zarina and making sure that they're okay. And Arentha's still mad, and he's like,
Are you okay? No one's attacked or anything, right?
and all of that. And essentially the night passes with them talking. And so in the morning when Zorvir heads off to meet them, he's still tired. He hasn't slept. It's
All right.
mostly been him trying to prepare her to take care of the estate while he's gone,
Sure.
and her being very angry about that.
How old is she again?
15.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? You good? All right. So the morning comes, and your entourages before your head off to the where the send-off is taking place. Your entourages arrive at your various homes and gather up with you. Some of them would probably meet you at the three statues. So, for reference, the three statues at the very center, well, mostly center of the city, is where the two primary rivers that cut through the city proper come together, and there's these three bridges that cross the three different land portions of the city. Often
I see that here on this mediocre map that you had made.
Hey, now
I'm just kidding. This map is amazing.
this map is friggin' awesome. Thank you
It's
very
amazing.
much.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah,
Courtesy
not gonna lie.
of one Beth Masco. Thank you.
Huzzah, Beth.
Who I can never repay for the work that she has put in. But anyway, there is a small glade of trees just south of these three statues, and this is a common gathering place for special events and such. And this particular special event has been news has spread, we'll say. And so despite the early morning hour, this central square is bustling with activity, and this seems to be mostly at the behest of one of the Emperor's chief advisors, a Commander Evander Talon. Actually, let me see if I can get some. Yay, it worked. Commander Evander Talon has arranged a grand send-off for your expeditionary force, with crowds gathering to bid farewell amidst a decent mix of excitement and anticipation, and maybe a little bit of fear about the notions of rebellion. There are 7 different horse-drawn carriages awaiting all of the various entourages of people. This includes some people there that are, people that manage the carriages. There's one carriage that specifically is just loaded down with all of the supplies that you will need. You all will be roughing it, sleeping in the wild, so to speak. So there's like tents and things that are gathered up, most of which that can be attached to the carriages themselves. But as you all gather in this place in the early morning hours, why don't you spend a moment and tell us about your various entourages that you are bringing with you on this long journey, as it was highly suggested by Commander Talon that you have additional people with you, because it could be fraught with danger, and you should make sure that you have people with you that you trust explicitly. Akris, I'll go ahead and talk about his entourage since he is not here. Akris has just a very small group of people, 3 individuals with him. One of them, honestly, to anyone looking upon him, looks like a commoner. He has well-worn fingers that speak much of a laborer, someone with some kind of trade skill or other. But Akris seems to be very friendly with the man, and Barrick would actually know this young man to be a baker's son who has taken up the family tradition and is probably, other than Barrick himself, Akris's closest friend. There is a young woman that goes by the name of Kendra that seemingly is a classmate of Akris's at the Empyrean Vanguard, and Barrick would also know that there is a hint of admiration, we'll say, that Akris has for this young Kendra. And then the last is a man that Barrick knows very well, Borvir Thane, who is a Decatar in the Aegis battalions, and apparently was appointed to make sure that Akris stays safe. A well-built man of military stature and appearance, and who offers solemn salute to Barrick in this endeavor. Let's go then to Barrick then. Barrick, why don't you tell us about your entourage?
Sure. So first you'll see there are 2 women standing sort of in front of me. One is kind of tall, and just by the look of her, she looks agile and athletic. She has like lovely brown skin, and her hair's pulled back. Her expression is pretty intense. She's not making friendly conversation like some other folks are. And you see on her back, she's got a quiver and a bow. Her name is Zolan, and she is an expert navigator. She's also military, and she's known to be a bit of a sharpshooter. The other woman that you see is a little bit shorter and more kind of like hardy. She has like just a huge mane of red hair that has been hastily pulled back into a braid. She's wearing overalls, but they have military insignia on them. She still looks military. Everything is very clean cut, but she wears these overalls. And her name is Reese Collier. She is a sapper, or an Ysterran equivalent of like a combat engineer. So she has a shovel strapped to her back, and then also she does carry a sword. But the two of them have immaculate posture. You can tell that they are folks that Barrick would have served with. The last person in his entourage is someone who looks kind of familiar. He looks a little bit like Meryl, and this would be Barrick's brother-in-law, Bastion Eros, who he's been friends with since the very beginning of his military career. They sort of diverged paths at a certain point when Barrick went into the Legionis, and Bastion sort of went another direction, but he stands next to him with sort of an easy expression on his face, not quite as serious looking as everyone else, but he still stands with the same posture.
Nice. Cassia, or Deb, why don't you tell us about Cassia's entourage?
Happily, I'm trying to navigate around a cat here, so.
Good luck.
Yes.
Cat in the entourage. No.
Indeed.
Yes.
He would love it. First, we have Joram, who we met last week. He's the young half-elven acolyte in the Eternity Archive. He's sort of dressed in the simple scholarly robes, and he's sort of excited but also really nervous, and he's spent more of his time around books than anything else, and so this is the first time he's kind of been out getting any experience in the world, and so he is enthusiastic and dedicated but really nervous about this whole situation. Then there are two women in their 40s, half-elven women. They are identical twins, and it is almost impossible to tell them apart. And if you haven't spent any time with them, it's absolutely impossible to tell them apart. They are Vivian and Olivia Kinrell, Viv and Liv for short, and they often get confused for the other one.
They do it on purpose.
For sure, absolutely. They're sort of simply, simply clad in dark-colored tunics, and they've got close-fitting leather armor on. And you can kind of tell by looking at them that they probably are pretty handy with a blade. But they play it off. They're very lighthearted and playful. They are making jokes with all of the people around them. They're really sort of boisterous and outgoing, and tend to put everyone around them at ease, and that sort of covers over their more deadly skills with blades. So it's easy to forget that they are well equipped to handle danger. They have known Cassia for a long time, and they're often called to act as her personal guard as she travels from various academy and university for speaking engagements and things like that. So they've spent a lot of time with Cassia. And then rounding out her entourage is a very sort of plain looking woman in her early 30s. You can tell that she is not really interested at all in any ostentation. She's just, you look at her and she is as nondescript as possible. She's got really sort of plain colored hair. She doesn't have any ornamentation on her clothing. She's just plain. But if you spend some time watching her, she moves with a sort of elegance, and she makes her movements very deliberately, and she's very graceful. And you can tell if you spend any time looking at her that there's a lot of intelligence behind her eyes, and she's very conscientious about the way that she presents herself and speaks. She's just a little, even in her plainness, she's a little mysterious.
And what was her name again?
Magda.
Magda. Nice. Jeremy. Who does the tax man bring?
Yes. All right, the taxman. So while this is all going on, there's a group of 5 individuals that are kind of standing off to the side together. They're very comfortable with one another, but a viewer would notice that other people throw nervous glances at them. Even the other soldiers who are likely of similar abilities, you just got to watch what you say when you're dealing with the IRS or the Internal Revenue Soldiers, also known as the Golden Balance.
No.
So, Zorvir's entourage is made up of a human fellow. His name is Beauregard Zalin. He is the chief clerk just under Zorvir at the Golden Balance. Well, the Golden Balance is really like it's the people who are sent out to collect the taxes from people who don't pay. I didn't want to call them the Pinkertons because I thought that would be
no, hang on.
Right.
We'll edit that out. Come on, keep it going.
Okay, so anyway, the Golden Balance, they wear where was I going with this? Okay, so we have Beauregard. He is a human clerk. It looks like he's wearing robes of like a typical clerk and such. They're darker, and you can see like a little clip of the insignia of the order. But as he moves around, you can hear that there is the creaking of leather under the robes. And you might notice like daggers hidden with your amazing passive perceptions. Nearby are 4 soldiers that are all wearing identical armor. They have helmets and breastplates and then greaves and all of those metal pieces that are lacquered with green and red, the colors of the Empire, as well as having the gold insignia of the Golden Balance. There is Grimby Stout. He is a male dwarf. He has golden blonde hair and a beard. He is quite loud and talkative, and you will notice that he has had 3 of his front teeth knocked out and replaced with bright gold fake teeth. There is Sasha Wen. She is a female human. She has short cropped red hair and dark olive skin. There is Stefan Brent. They have long black hair on top, shaved on the sides, and also has dark brown skin, as well as Farron Solorina, a female elf with shoulder-length dark brown hair and tan skin. All of them seem to move with a certain grace that soldiers do. However, they do kind of have that air of a special force group that maybe makes other people nervous because, they're the taxman's people.
Right. Love it. And Devalian. What is Devalian's entourage? I shudder to ask.
Well, I am certainly pleased you saved me for last, kind GM. Devalian's entourage, when he arrives in that carriage that he had actually arrived at Barracks' home last night. It's rather opulent. It's actually got extra decoration. It's got an extra coach driver on top as well. He and his entourage show up in 4 different carriages, and what's of note is between the carriages, part of the entourage will actually march. They are a group of apparently troubadours and minstrels, playing all sorts of different instruments. Some of them are juggling, some of them are reciting oratory, others are singing. And as everyone gets up there and approaches, the very first carriage will open and Devalian will step out. He has on very finely appointed clothes that are all blue. You can see that there is armor mixed in amongst it. No sign of that strange quartz sword, but he gestures and waves to everybody, and he will make his way down in. The entourage comes up around him, and the first one that we will see is a gentleman who is a human. He's very tall. He's probably like 6'1", 6'2", wide-shouldered. He has very closely cropped brown hair, a little bit of that salt and peppery kind of silver along the temples. He has a Van Dyke-style beard, a very severe look, and he's dressed in a way that would clearly mark him as some sort of lord or merchant of some sort. This is Lord Burroughs Rutledge, who is a man who specifically, He once upon a time supposedly was a smuggler, and he has worked his way into being a lord within Intresca because of the fact that he is able to provide the emperor with certain, shall we say, things that aren't typically found in this section of the world. And yes, so he is an individual who's very haughty. He himself, when he gets out of his carriage, he comes out with 5 servants, stewards. He comes out with 5 stewards who look a little bit less thrilled to be his stewards than Barrick's stewards are. And there is actually a moment where we get ready to leave when Develian actually goes and speaks with him briefly. Their words are not heard. And what ends up happening is, out of these 5 stewards, only one of them is able to come with. So
you're self-reducing. Okay, good.
Well, I was given orders, unfortunately, and we need to do such things. Yes.
And who else is amongst your
Yeah.
entourage before we get into it here? Because I'm
Yes,
assuming
yes.
there's more.
Oh, of course. So we got 3 other carriages to talk about here. Out of the next carriage comes a very severe-looking young man. Actually, Akris would know this young man. This is Jacrin Smythe. He is actually a member of the Academy who just recently graduated. He is a human as well. He's probably average, 5'10" kind of height, well-muscled. He has armor on, that green and red, crimson kind of color that marks him as someone who is newly appointed to the ranks of being part of, the soldiers of Intresca. He looks very severe, very serious, more than a little bit arrogant. You all can tell by the way he dismisses people around him. In fact, actually dismisses Akris as Akris tries to say, "Oh, hey, yeah, I remember you from class." He just kind of looks at him like he's a peasant. He doesn't really care about him. The third carriage will actually, a gnome will step out, and she has hair that can best be described as silver twine, just kind of pulled up into a weird, crazy bun in the back. She has an apron on, she has glasses that have multiple lenses on them, and she clearly is some sort of tinkerer or artificer of some sort. She is Vadania Pura, and she actually has ties to help building the siege engines of Intresca. So she has all of these different skills in that course. As she's walking through the crowd, you all would hear that some of the word is that she was very pleased to be part of this entourage because she absolutely despises these disgusting pigs that would dare rebel against the Emperor. She is spitting lots of venom. She is very mad about this, very severe, and she's going to help put them all down. There is also, as I said, there's all the troubadours and the minstrels. They go to come along as well. We do not dare cut them down because, we need to bring the party with us. This is important that we actually have joy and festivity as well as the seriousness of so in all there are these 4 individuals, and then also about 17 to 18 other folks walking in behind us all that are playing songs, playing instruments. It's like a full orchestra following behind. There's jugglers, a mime is even mixed in.
Before I
Lord
get into
Listriel.
this, Beth, no, all right. Beth, you have something you want to add here?
Okay. Barrick has a lot to say. Lord Listriel, you can't bring all these people. This is not appropriate. This isn't a vacation. We don't need musicians. We don't need a show. What we're going to do is important and it's dangerous, and this is just silly. You're embarrassing yourself and you're embarrassing the Empire.
Zorvir, slides up next to you. He's, I don't know, Sir Barrick. the mood that the band brings along with us might be enough to sway this opposition.
Does anyone in any of our groups play an instrument? If you do, fantastic. We don't need this. We really
What
don't.
if none of us do?
I tell you, levity goes a long way after a long, arduous day of journeying, of sallying forth, or perhaps quelling a rebellion.
It's true. I can't tell you how many people
that I've dried their tears while singing them a happy song after repossessing their home.
Are these performers all just out and about here
Yes.
in front of
Yeah,
us?
oh yeah, they're
Great.
around us. Yeah, they kind of
Excuse me.
they're putting verse to what our conversation is. If our conversation is part of a ballad of some sort, yeah.
No. Excuse me. Stop playing. We are about to endeavor on something that very likely will get you all killed. So,
Hazard pay.
no pay if you're dead. So,
Oh.
yeah, this isn't a thing. We very much appreciate you coming to this meeting, but that is all we will need from you at this point. So please feel free to go perform wherever you'd like, but it won't be with us.
Okay.
Alas, everyone, your services will not be rendered upon this journey. After all, the retainer that I put down to hold you into standing of performing for the next 3 months will still be allowed to be given to you. I am not a man not of my word. But, alas, you will not be coming along. If I may, please, Lord Barrick, may I keep one of them? There is one of them that is very important to me. I believe she would be utmost important and imperative to the journey.
Please tell me it's the tuba player.
It is not. It is, sir. He will point to, there is mixed in amongst all of the minstrels, there is a woman who has been walking in amongst them, and she has like a bow strapped to her back. She's wearing like nicely appointed armor, but she's also kind of plain, fits out, and it doesn't quite fit in a little bit. She
She's
has a
wearing
scar
armor,
down
she
her
can
cheek.
stay. Yeah, she's fine. She's good.
Excellent. Then very well, I'm glad my paramour will be allowed to accompany us, because that will be needed at the end of the day. So thank you very much, Lord Barrick. Everyone else, please go home. Sing tales of our heroism.
Please stay and play a tune as we depart from the square.
Yes, thank you very much. People of Intresca, know that we will put down all of your fears and all of your duties. True peace and purpose will come to Intresca. The Emperor will know that his point is made across, and everyone here, we give you our solemn word as adventurers, as heroes, as lords and ladies of the town, that from this day forward, we will bring Intresca into the future. Ysterra will know all of the good and will get its just rewards for the duty and cause that we provide. Let us go.
and and as you say all of this, there's a fair bit of cheering and rejoicing, because there's like a couple hundred people gathered in the vicinity to see you all off for this. There's more waiting down the streets for the procession of the carriages to make their way out of the city proper. And as you finish speaking about this, Develian, you hear a
The slow
from behind you, and you turn to see Commander Talon standing there staring at you with a overbroad smile upon his face. Develian, you know this man. He works with you in your other duties to the Emperor, and your relationship with him is perhaps not as cordial when you're outside of the Emperor's presence. So seeing him here would be enough to, I think, pierce a little bit of the bravado that Develian carries with him so often. And as he steps forward to you, he says, "Well, Develian, it's an interesting assortment the Emperor has gathered for this endeavor, don't you think?
Yes,
particularly your presence among them is certainly peculiar. Perhaps you should not have annoyed the Emperor so much at our last meeting." And he kind of smirks a little bit. Which, alas, you don't have to worry about such things now. All of the meetings coming will be graciously without your esteemed council. You're going to be gone, what, 6 months? 7, maybe more. It'll be summer before you return.
As always, Lord Talon, your presence is duly noted.
Good.
Go in peace, and hopefully find your bed turned down well and without poisonous snakes hidden amongst its folds.
Oh, just the normal poisonous snakes that I sleep with. And he steps in very close, and in a not whispered tone, but a quiet enough tone that only most of the party, because your perceptions are insane, are able to hear. He says, "Remember, Develian, every choice of the Emperor reflects on us all. His eyes are upon you, and the success of this mission rests on your shoulders as much as theirs." As he gestures to Barrick and the others. Before you can adequately respond, he turns and raises his hands in the direction of the gathered crowd, his imposing silhouette becoming apparent as he steps up onto a decent bench to look over top of everyone. He gestures with his hands for everyone to quiet a bit as he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, people of Intresca, we stand here today at a precipice, one that will decide our future, our unity, our strength." He points a hand gesturing to the east. "In our lands, seed of rebellion has been sown, threatening to fracture our beloved empire, to tear apart the unity that binds us. We face adversity, yes, but in these trials that we reveal our true mettle." He kind of a little bit haphazardly gestures his gaze towards Barrick and nods. "Lord Barrick, esteemed tutor and war veteran, is tasked to lead this vital expedition. He is the embodiment of our military prowess, a beacon of strength and resilience." Then rests his gaze upon Akris. "And here, a promising protege. Akris, the Dragonborn, stands as a testament to our future, to the unyielding spirit of the next generation." His eyes then drift over to Zorvir, and you can see a glint of almost imperceptible annoyance at Zorvir, as if maybe he's had a run-in or two with Taxman. "Zorvir, elder statesman and sage, embodies our respect for wisdom, accumulated through years and years and years of lived experience. His age and presence is a testament to the value of the past and will be a good guide for our future." His attention is directed over towards Cassia, and he, with a almost leering smile, says, "And good Lady Cassia, dedicated scholar, represents our thirst for knowledge and our adherence to the teachings of eternity." The sarcasm dripping off of his last words, before his gaze rests upon Develian, and with an almost unspoken challenge, he says, "And Develian, the elf of many faces, embodies our ability to navigate the delicate balance of what sword and word can do for the Empire. Remember, Develian, in the field of battle, every step can be as deadly as any duel." And then his gaze sweeps across the crowd. "Each of them chosen by Emperor Geronton himself, carrying upon their shoulders the weight of our trust, the hopes of our empire, as they journey forth to confront the chaos that threatens us. Remember them, for they venture into the unknown for all of us." Stand tall, people of Intresca, for we are the Empire of Steel, and we will not be broken. United we stand, and united we will prevail. And his voice kind of fades and echoes, and the crowd breaks into loud cheers and applause. Talon steps back off of the bench that he had stepped up upon as his gaze kind of lingers a little bit on each of you, a smile not of care in his gaze, but rather of intimidation, of setting in that you are all doomed in this moment. But the crowd is cheering nonetheless, and you are all gestured to gather with your entourages and climb into the carriages that await you. As oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say, as Zorvir's like walking towards his entourage, Grimby is like, oh yeah, he venturing into the unknown. If he ever left the walls of the city, you know, it wouldn't be unknown. This is pretty much what he knows right here. And he's like trying to make the joke, but everyone's just like, yep, we get it, Grimby. And you know, they're picking up their stuff and put it on the carriage. And
it's funny because he is the funniest member of the tax squad.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe that's it, is they're not picking up the obvious humor of his joke.
Right. Exactly.
So Grimby does have a dog, but he's not going to bring it along unless the GM guarantees that the dog is not going to die along the way.
So I can guarantee no such things.
Oh, jeez.
I will tell you outright.
That's painfully honest.
Pets do not have plot armor
Okay.
in my games.
Yeah, he's like, oh, good boy, you go home with mama, and sends the dog off.
As much as it pains me to say, even cats don't have plot armor in my games.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I don't go out of my way to kill them,
As long as you
but
don't go out of your way.
adventurers
But
often put them in dangerous situations
It's
that I
true.
cannot be held responsible for. It's not my fault, damn it.
well, if you're not gonna like hunt down the dog, then maybe Grimby will bring the dog along.
Take him
Dude,
with.
you're gonna
Take
regret
it with.
this.
I know.
There's so many
I
seconds in
know.
this game.
And he's a big. I can't think. I have to think of what they're called, but the Turner and Hooch Mastiff.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
So he's like that kind of dog, except
Nice.
for, you know, he's bigger than Grimby is pretty much.
Awesome.
Sure.
Incredible.
Nice. Anyone else have anything as they gather themselves into their...
Tevelian will go over to his carriage. After his entourage enters into their carriages, he will go to his carriage. He will walk up
Oh,
the
no.
little side.
Your entourage travels with you in your carriage.
Okay,
There are
that's fine.
7
That is fine.
carriages.
Okay. That's
One
fine.
for each of you and your entourages.
All right.
One
all
for
right.
the supplies, and one for the additional people that are there to help take care of the horses and the carriages.
Now, Lord Beric is rather a slave driver, but that is fine. No, so as I get to my carriage for myself and my entourage, I'll be the last one to go to climb the stairs, and I climb up, and when I get to the top step, I stop, and I slowly turn, I look back over Intresca, and there is an uncharacteristic, very serious, almost mournful look on my face, like perhaps I'm looking at it for the last time.
Hmm.
And then I get inside the carriage.
Foreshadowing your own doom? I love it.
Who knows?
Beth and Deb, is there anything in particular for Cassia or Beric to be noted as you climb into your carriages?
Deb really wants to cast suggestion on Lord Talon and tell him to walk into the river, but that doesn't feel like it's in character for Cass. So Cassie is just gonna get into her carriage.
Nice. I will take him off the screen so that you don't have to look at it.
Well, let me say, as a student of the theater, I really certainly hope that is the Chekhov's gun that we get to beat the shit out of in the last session, Nico.
Fingers crossed. He sucks.
I mean,
What
you
a
know I made
jerk.
art for him. He's coming back.
What a
so-
jerk.
That's true.
That guy's the worst.
That being said, you notice I didn't make art for any of your entourages.
Oh,
Barrack.
Don't
no.
worry, I made art for my entourage.
Nice.
That doesn't count. Beth, do you have anything for Barrack?
Well, I presume Mara would have come to this since her
Yeah.
husband and brother are here.
Yes.
Um,
There is a loving moment in which she basically looks at her brother and probably pulls Akris into it as well, and basically says, "And you two watch his fucking back, because if he doesn't come back and you do, you're gonna wish that you hadn't," sort of thing. And she basically commands Barrack to come home. With your
He has-
shielder on it, sort of moment.
yeah, he doesn't protest that at all.
And so as you all pile into your carriages, some people perhaps riding on the top of them, some people riding with just the windows open. I mean, I'm assuming that Aarakocra aren't comfortable in carriages and would prefer to like feel the wind, but
Yeah, so the carriage that I arrived in earlier with my granddaughter,
It's convertible.
it's specially built, right? It has like a much
Okay.
higher, and now riding in this, it's like very cramped and very uncomfortable.
Right.
Not pleasant whatsoever.
I mean, it can't be as cramped as Develian's, because Develian has the largest
lot of people.
entourage. Even with all of the people left behind, he still
Yeah.
has the most number of people. That all...
I might have overlooked the fact that we were sharing. Yeah.
So yes, you guys pile into your carriages and make your way out of the city. There are people gathered on the sides of the main thoroughfare that leads out of the city. There are cheers. There are people throwing flowers and such. There's a lot of, yelling of wishing you well, please come back safely. A couple of, as awful as it sounds, crush the rebellion. end the rebels' lives, that sort of cheering that takes place. But you all do eventually make your way out of the city under this grand fanfare of praise, and that's where we're going to take our break, because we are way past due for our break.
I will say that, as the flower tossing is commencing, and then there's a obvious break as the taxmen go through, Zorvir does smile just slightly.
You get a few people that you get the dutiful taxpayers that love
Right.
to pay their taxes for the good of their civic duty.
Right.
The few and far between of them that there are that still cheer as Zorvir goes by.
That's fair.
But yes,
Man.
we're going to take our break. We will be back in just a few short 5 minutes, hopefully, and we will see you all again in just a few minutes. Bye for now. Yeah, hydrating is important. Before we jump back into the action here, I need for all of my players to do me a favor, because we are traveling, and roll a d20 and a d6. And because I am not going to roll for Akris, I need for one of you, and I'm going to nominate Beth to roll an extra d20 and
makes
a d6 specifically for Ian, since he
that
was not
reads.
here. And so if anything bad happens to Akris as a result of this, we know who to blame.
Okay, I'll remember that.
You do that.
I'll roll for myself first, just for the sake of, Oh boy.
Anybody got a result here that they can share with me, please?
I have a 3 on my d20 and a 4 on my d6.
Okay. 3 and...
I've got an 18 and a 4.
And that is for
then-
Barrack, right?
That's for Barrack, and then I'll roll for Akris as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a 16 and a 5.
All right. Good rolls, good rolls.
Akris has an 18 and a 3.
All right. And Zorvir?
And I got a 5 and 1.
5 and a
Oh,
1.
Okay.
All right. Love it. Thank you so much. So, as we proceed,
Thanks to Fan Roll Dice.
Fan Roll Dice, we love you.
Right. Thank
no,
you,
no,
Chuck
actually,
Norris.
we do. We really do love you, in fact.
Yeah, great dice.
So, in the interest of time, I'm going to narrate a little bit of your journey here, mainly because I don't feel like role-playing out 2.5 months of carriage travel, as rife an opportunity as that is to witness everyone hate Kevin more and more with each passing moment.
Right?
Sorry, Develian, hate Develian more.
Oh, Develian, yeah,
Yes.
definitely you meant Develian, yeah.
Yes, I absolutely just meant Develian.
Yes.
We're going to do a little bit of a montage scene of what happens here in this travel journey. So, as the grandeur and bustle of the capital fade into the far distance, the caravan embarks on its long journey east, its path tracing the heartbeat of the empire itself. The landscape stretches out in a tapestry of diverse cultures and regions, each bearing a distinct imprint on the empire's rule. Leaving behind the familiar trappings of the capital, the caravan journeys into the verdant agricultural province of Agresia. Under a vast azure sky, the landscape unfurls like a sun-drenched sea of grain, a vast patchwork quilt of emerald and golden fields, and the gently undulating hills adorned with vineyards. The road weaves its way through clusters of villages and small towns, each centered around its own collection of farms. The thatched roofs of the cottages and stone towers of windmills dot the horizon. As the caravan passes, Intrescan citizens momentarily pause their work, looking up from their plowing or harvest, their faces turning towards the road, curiosity apparent in their eyes, and from afar the locals seem to welcome the caravan's passage. As the Empire's banners flutter in the wind, they cheer, wave, and occasionally salute, particularly at the notice of some of the more military members of the various members of this roving caravan. Children occasionally run alongside, their faces lit with excitement, trying to catch a glimpse of who might be within, what adventurers, what famous nobles, what ostentatious people might they find. It's a tableau of cheer and celebration that warms the heart at first glance. However, upon closer observation, particularly for someone like Zorvir, one can discern an undertone of disquiet beneath the facades of jubilation. There are vast numbers of loud cheers. A few occasionally, though, seem a tad hollow, and some of the smiles appear perhaps a bit forced. When the eyes of the Empire are not directly upon them, their expressions shift ever so subtly, betraying their lived experiences and their everyday struggles under the Empire's rule. You all take in these scenes, the dichotomy of what is seen and unseen. It's a vivid, poignant reminder of the vast and complex system of the Empire, an intricate tapestry of lives and livelihoods under its dominion, and beneath it all, a faint but discernible ripple of discontent, a subtle defiance hidden beneath the outward displays of loyalty. The caravan waves farewell to the verdant expanses of Agresia as the terrain morphs, making way for the majesty of the Aelurus and Zansit mountain ranges to the south and the north, respectively. A grand pass, believed to have been carved eons ago by one of the Ascendant in an effort to unite the people of the continent of Insaris, that had been separated by the vast mountain ranges running the breadth of the continent from north to south. This singular pass is the only way, predominantly, to make such a journey when traveling from east to west or west to east. Each twist and turn of this path unveils breathtaking vistas of jagged peaks, a few, even in these spring months, still adorned with snow at their peaks, their silhouettes standing stark against the azure sky. The imposing yet beautiful landscape serves as a stark reminder of nature's strength and its untamed grandeur. As the caravan emerges from the mountain pass, the journey has been blessed with comfortable weather. Thankfully, the spring years are often attributed to such things, and the mountain's chill has been kept at bay by the warmth of the season. The terrain opens up into the expansive plains of Carfarun. The stark contrast between the desolate beauty of the mountain pass and the vibrant buzz of Carfarun is staggering. These plains, bordered by the dangerous wild tribelands to the far north and the enigmatic red canyons to the south, thrive with bustling towns and trade outposts. The plains serve as a vital artery of the Empire, a conduit for goods, resources, and wealth flowing from east to west and west to east. Marketplaces brim with an eclectic mix of people, from bejeweled nobles discussing trade agreements, to local artisans demonstrating their craft, to laborers hauling goods to and fro, their voices melding into a cacophony of commerce. Vibrant fabrics, exotic spices, finely crafted wares, and an array of strange trinkets fill every stall, enticing every eye and sparking every imagination. Yet amidst the apparent prosperity, there's an unmistakable tension that fills the air. The Empire's military presence is palpable, looming shadow over these plains. Soldiers patrol the vast caravan roads and town streets, their armor gleaming under the sun, and watchtowers stand at regular intervals, manned by vigilant sentinels. The threat of wild barbarian raiders from the tribelands is real, and the Empire's response is swift and unforgiving, a brutal demonstration of order and discipline. As you all journey on, the plains of Carfarun become another poignant chapter in your understanding of the complex nature of the Empire and its society. Leaving these bustling plains behind, the caravan journeys on, entering a region marked by a juxtaposition of beauty and devastation. The Ysterra territories, these lands, they bear the green blush of nature, rolling hills stretching as far as the eye can see, cloaked in verdant tapestries of forest, yet too frequently to miss. The canvas of green is marred by a discolored stretch of land or a cluster of misshapen trees, scars etched into the landscape by past battles. This land is fertile, but wounded, its vitality still bruised by the touch of war, even decades past. The flourishing forests bear testament to the ferocity of those ancient battles. In the midst of this lush foliage, one can find shattered trunks, the remains of barricades, weather-worn battlements, echoes of the past that whisper in rustling leaves, telling tales of fierce conflict and the relentless march of an empire. The people of Ysterra share a similar story. Their faces are resilient against the hardship they have endured, carrying a certain melancholy in their eyes. Despite the years and decades that have passed since the battles and the wars, the weight of history is ever present upon them. Like a shroud that clings to the very air they breathe. Yet life carries on, determined and unyielding as the landscape that surrounds them. Within the heart of these territories lies a bustling testament to the Empire's might. Jorantown, named in honor of the Emperor, this city is a hub of relentless activity. Though certainly smaller than the capital, structures of all sizes rise from the very ground, the cityscape constantly changing, growing under the relentless march of progress, buildings constructed in all varieties and in all sizes, stretching very, very far, very, very tall. Yet beneath the veneer of prosperity, a keen observer can glimpse the strain this rapid development places on the surrounding land. Caravans laden with resources pulled from hundreds of miles around stream into the city. Timber harvested from local forests and stone quarried from nearby hills all flow into Jorantown like rivers. The very lifeblood of the land seems to be drawn towards the city's constant construction. A testament to the city's growth, but also a glaring reminder of sacrifices made by the surrounding territories. Your caravan rolls on, leaving the clamor of Jorantown's construction behind, continuing its journey through the resilience and silent mourning of the Ysterra territories. As your caravan approaches the rendezvous point, the Aegis military outpost of Tornara, its stark fortified structures stand as a sharp contrast to the desolate and scarred lands you've been journeying through. Here at the edge of the outpost, you see them, the Delverd. The century of aegis soldiers stand ready, their armor gleaming in the dying light of the day. Their leader, a sturdy figure by the name of Raylus Dawnhammer. Despite his dwarven stature, he looms large among his men, radiating an indomitable strength and resolve. Your journey has not been an easy one, but it certainly was easier than theirs. Signs of fatigue are etched into the faces of virtually every member of the Delverd, clear as day. Yet they hold themselves erect, bearing the weight of their armor and the discipline and resolve only soldiers of the Aegis battalions can muster. Upon spotting Beric, Raylus strides forward, extending his hand in greeting, rumbling, his voice echoing respect and acknowledgement for the war veteran's reputation, and for the other soldiers too, seem to share this sentiment, greeting Beric as well as all of you in your entourages with firm nods of acknowledgement. As conversations unfold, strategy plans are discussed, one thing becomes strikingly clear. Raylus Dawnhammer is a dwarf of unwavering loyalty to the Empire. His words carry an edge of disdain for anyone who dares question the authority of Duranton. Disobedience and rebellion, or no true son or daughter of the Empire would dare such treachery, are the kinds of words that come out of his and many of the other advisors to whom he calls loyalty from. If they do not believe in the laws of the Empire or the word of the Emperor, then they are a blight and should be eradicated. That's the sentiment that leaves you. But despite this ominous shadow of rebellion looming over the soldiers present in Tornera, a sense of camaraderie also comes from their ranks, and a spark of hope ignited amongst this growing darkness by your presence, as someone who is tasked by the Emperor himself to deal with this matter, and they are simply here to ensure that you have what you need to do so. You then set forth from Tanara. You find yourselves journeying into the eastern borderlands, this last stretch of the Empire's reach before you head into territories with which you seek. The changes in the landscape are gradual, but relentless, each passing day revealing more starkly the harsh realities of this war-torn region. Initially, there are sparse settlements here and there, farmsteads and hamlets, inhabitants etching out a living from the very scarred earth in which they live, fields that lie fallow, homes bearing the mark of conflict, and even in the warming rays of the sun, a chill seems to linger in the air. The faces of the people here bear very stoic expressions, their smiles hollow and their eyes shadowed with the strain of hardship. As the days roll on, the wounds of the land grow more profound. You pass through abandoned villages where hearths are cold, fields overgrown with weeds. Crumbled walls and shattered buildings stand as silent witnesses to the terrors of war that once swept through here. It becomes increasingly rare to see the Imperial flags fluttering proudly. Here, what few hang are limp, symbols of an authority that seems far removed from the reality of this place. Further east that you go, the more the signs of suffering become evident. Starvation has taken hold in these regions, its merciless grip in the gaunt faces and thin frames of the people you pass by. What was once perhaps a land of promise and life has been reduced to a harsh landscape of struggle for survival. The cheer and praises once seen in the eyes of the Empire's citizens have virtually vanished entirely. Fear and resentment linger in their gazes now as they watch the caravan pass. Their praise for the Empire and the Emperor, if it comes at all, is a hollow echo of the fervor you had seen in the Heartlands. These people are bearing the brunt of the Empire's expansion, the ones paying the steepest price for its grand ambitions, and it is during this leg of the trip that an uneasy sensation ripples through the air, a mere hint of a disturbance that whispers through the comfortable confines of your carriage. And before we continue, I would like to offer each of you an opportunity to discuss with me or yourselves any of this journey as it has been transpired.
Well, great journey.
So much to take it.
It'd be so much better if there was a band.
I know. That's really what was
I
lacking.
could not agree more, Zorvir. I could not agree more.
Well, let's talk about what this experience, because bear in mind that this has taken more than 2 months, right? And you all did not just travel in your caravan, your carriages the entirety of this time. Like, you, in resting, you would find towns and villages to rest in before you would rest in the wilds. You would have had opportunity to mingle amongst the people of the entire breadth of the society of Intresca, in this, journey. What kind of impact has seeing the entirety of the Empire, more or less, had upon each of you?
I definitely feel like Zorvir's feeling a little confused because, growing up loyal to the Empire, and essentially that's just the way life is. That the people this far out have a different lifestyle, and like he has been out and about, but like it has been many years, and so there's a certain difference to the interactions between now and then that's left him feeling definitely questioning, like, why are they acting this way? And he's tried to express to them that the Emperor has their best interests at heart, and he's there to take care of you just like all of we are and all that, but even like his best attempts to assuage their fears has just kind of failed along the way. And so by this point in the journey, he's feeling a little not put out. What's the right word?
As you think of that word, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did he last travel, or has he traveled from the capital since the abolition of slavery?
Maybe like that first year.
So it's been a good decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, like, his own duties have kept him from really going out. There's other people to do that, and so his own journeys out to do the job of the taxmen are now relegated to other people. So so he's definitely feeling confused, a little unsure of the cause of this shift in feelings.
Shift in his own feelings or the public?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So like when you're in the capital and like everyone is like, so happy to be a part of the Empire and blah blah blah, and whether or not they actually are, he doesn't really think about those things, or at least he wasn't until probably a few weeks ago, and now he's starting to question why people feel that way, and if this is how the rest of the Empire is, then...
And actually getting to see the reason that taxes aren't coming from these lands in this most recent leg of the journey probably has an impact on him as well. What about Develian, Kevin?
I think that despite all the best efforts of the countryside to try to bring a morose nature to the group, Develian has actually been getting more and more elaborate, almost like he's making up for that. Like he's trying to make everybody be happier and be more jovial with the nature of everything. He's trying to bring this this different vibe to everything. There's been more than a few times where he's actually been seen talking with his paramour. They're off to the side all the time talking about things, and I mean, never anything like openly affectionate or anything like that. But just there's times where they seem to be having their own private conversations from time to time. Whenever they go to a new town, she always goes out to look around, to go shopping, to ask questions of people, just to learn a little bit about what's going on with everything. And I think that the only time really of note, I mean, there's of course regular interactions with everybody, but I think something of note would be that one of the times when we are in a city of some sort, I think the group will find ourselves in a tavern or an inn, someplace where we stop, and he'll actually approach Barrick when he is sitting there at dinner or whatever, and he'll when he comes up to you, Barrick, he will inquire how long it's been since you've been out in the field, like how long it's been since you've been away on a long-standing campaign such as this.
It's been a while since I've done anything quite like this. Probably, I mean, at least a decade. Because most of his work has been like advisory at this point.
Of course. It must be quite terrible for someone as homebound as yourself to be away from your devoted wife for such a long period of time.
Yes, I mean, as it would be for anyone.
Of course, of course. It seems rather sad to me that a man such as yourself, with a good, strong, hearty nature, tied to the Empire, beloved amongst his peers, that wouldn't have a larger family to bask in. I don't hear any sort of stories or revelations about a large, brood, as it were, a family, sons, daughters that would carry on the family name. Siblings, perhaps, anything. I know hardly anything about you, Barrick, it would seem.
You certainly don't know anything about me. If you did know anything about me, you would know not to talk about my family ever. So I would take this as your one and only warning.
Consider that duly noted. Forgive me, I must go speak with a librarian about a book that I owe, and I will go over to Cassia. So,
I am not here to bail you out of that one, so.
Very well. I was hoping perhaps you could give me some finer points about the teachings of Apraxis. I know very little of the faith, and I would like to perhaps know a little bit more about your insights, at least. How do they affect the Empire? How do they affect your mindset as to what we are seeking knowledge?
So I'll interject as me for a second and say Cassia's feeling a little bit foolish, I think, this far out. Because she has spent all of her time around intellectuals and the sort of ideas of abolition and the concepts of poverty and rebellion have been bandied about for so long on solely theoretical levels. They're all thought experiments for her, or have been until now, that being face to face with the reality of these people way out on the edge of the Empire is really startling, and she doesn't quite know what to do with it. So that's where Cassia's at. I came out here to spread education, and Apraxis is all about education and knowledge and furthering oneself and society through the furthering of education, but I confess I'm feeling a little bit lost. That feels like too much or not enough. I don't know.
Well, certainly you believe that knowledge can make a difference in an empire struggling in its various stages, as we see.
Absolutely.
And what do you think? What will be your place in this? Will you perhaps burn a new torch of knowledge, or will you perhaps simply try to hold on to the past?
I don't think holding on to the past gets us very far. I think we need to continue to make new ways, and as we gain knowledge, we move hopefully into a brighter future.
The future perhaps wrought with change.
Yes
New ways?
and no. I don't know. Change can be good and it can be overwhelming. I think, I don't know how much change we can hope for without going too far.
So therefore, we could perhaps conjecture that you believe that change is what is needed as long as it is dealt with in a way that can be properly maintained.
Sure, yes.
Interesting. Very good then. Could I perhaps get you a refill upon your drink, or perhaps some sort of these fancy hors d'oeuvres they have? Or could you believe there's some sort of strange? I believe they're called an eclair. There's some sort of pastry. They've got chocolate upon the top. This delicious white cream in the center.
Great. I would love one.
So
Fantastic.
for eclairs to become canon in Ysterra, I think that conversation would probably have had to have happened in Jorantown. Just
Yeah,
so you
perfect.
guys know.
Perfect. Yeah.
Beth, do you have
Yes.
anything to add to this experience of travel for Barrick, above and beyond wanting to murder Devellion?
Well, yeah, for Barrick, this travel isn't necessarily unfamiliar. I mean, he spent 20 years of his life out traveling through Intresca and beyond, and so he's seen quite a deal of the landscape and the people.
He's probably fought on some of these lands that you guys have traveled through.
Absolutely, it's all too familiar, and I think with that, right now he would be feeling just a twinge of disappointment, I think, in knowing that he has spent 30 years of his life working so hard for the will of the Emperor, for the good of the Empire, and for the people, and yet as he travels, he's still seeing impoverished people and lands that are like uninhabited and untenable, and just it feels a little bit disheartening to see that things haven't improved in the way that he was told they would if he fought.
All right. So, all of that sentiment is weighing upon your minds fairly heavily, and as you are continuing your journey, you know that the century of soldiers is behind you by maybe a couple of weeks as you are continuing your journey east, and you're probably another week or maybe two at most away from Crestfall at this point. This is when things become the most unsettled for you. As all of you are journeying through, the closer and closer that you get to your quote-unquote destination in search of a rebellion that is only hinted at in rumor, and the unknown becomes ever more ominous in your eye line ahead, and the discomfort that some of you might be experiencing with the reality of this land and this area of Intresca, it's all weighing upon you fairly heavily, and you frequently in these past couple of days have had uneasy sensations, hinting of the disturbance that awaits you. And on one day, getting closer into the evening, believing, pressing on a little bit more than you might have previously because you're trying to reach perhaps a small town that you know, or that people amongst you know to be in the near future, within an hour's travel or so maybe, there is a low rumble that starts to cascade through your very, very wonderfully comfortable carriages. And before any true sense of alarm can fully register, this low rumble begins to get louder and develops into a crescendo of a thunderous roar. The earth seems to come alive as a rolling avalanche of stone and timber erupts from the hillside in a tide of devastating, unyielding destruction. A monstrous wave of chaos hurtles towards and into your caravan. Cries of surprise turn into shrieks of fear as the reality of this onslaught descends upon all of you. The roar of the landslide deafens everything. An echo of raw power sending this chilling tremor down your spine as your world tilts into pandemonium, the rush of rocks and hewn trees crashing into your path, into your caravans themselves, tumbling all of you in chaos through the air. An unnerving silence follows this devastation, leaving only an echo of the calamity as a reminder of the sudden and violent fury that just transpired. Anyone still alive after having endured this and becoming slightly coherent begins to pick themselves up out of the silent chaos before the first arrow slams into the side of one of the carriages. I need for all of you to roll initiative, please. And I'm going to bring up the battle map here in a moment for everyone.
That is a 7.
9. Oh wow, that's a lot of stuff going.
Oh geez, I have a special amulet, and I'm choosing now to. It says when you roll for initiative, you can use your reaction to spend 1 charge to add your proficiency bonus to your initiative roll.
Nice.
I'm gonna do
nice.
that. And that's a good thing. So that's a 19.
All right. Sorry, I am a little bit unprepared here. Let me just get this up.
Holy moly.
Okay. All right, so Barrick, you said you got a 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Can someone please do me a favor and roll for Acris, please?
Natural 1.
Oh,
Perfect.
Don't do that to him.
I'm sorry.
He's just a boy.
All right, and
I felt really bad about it.
what did Develian get?
I got a 9, so not that much better.
Fair.
Nice. Okay. So, do you guys remember those D20 and D6 rolls from earlier?
Oh,
I
yeah, we
do.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
well,
do.
there are some effects that you guys are going to have as a result of those rolls. First of all, because of the D6 rolls, all of you ended up in carriages that got crushed.
yay!
Which means that all of you need to roll dexterity saving throws.
Dirty 20.
You succeed? I'll just put out the DC and you can tell me if you succeed. The DC is 15.
Failed. Cassie, or Deb, you're muted.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Thanks. I failed.
Yeah, I failed too.
All right. So, Anyone that failed takes 51 points of damage.
Good lord.
Anyone that succeeded takes 25 points of damage.
Okay.
As you basically find yourselves practically crushed under this disastrous assault upon the caravan. Now, just so you guys are aware, when you're looking at this map, you can see that there are some figures that actually have faces and that there are some figures that don't have faces. Okay? Because I don't feel like managing a combat that includes 50 billion NPCs, the no-faced tokens represent individuals, either friendly or adversary, that are part of your entourages or part of the attacking forces that you don't need to worry about. Okay? Your main worry at this point is, above and beyond surviving this assault, dealing with the foes that have obvious faces in their tokens, because these are the ones that are going to be attacking you. As you are looking around, and I'm saying this now because I don't want to interrupt the flow of combat to say it, these individuals that are attacking you do not look like soldiers. These look like normal, everyday people. Many of them are wearing armor of some kind, leather at best. Maybe one of them has a studded leather jerkin that obviously was not made for him and doesn't fit and is probably torn in several places. These are people with scavenged weapons, armor. Their shields might be a barrel cover or, a giant turtle's shell of all things. The swords, if they're lucky, might not be rusted, but are probably somewhat dulled at the very least. And every single person that you look upon that is assaulting you in this place, they mean murder. There is no hesitation for them. And those of you that have good perceptions and insight, which is a majority of you, are able to tell they are starving. These are people very obviously at the ends of their rope and have planned this endeavor to get at whatever obvious wealth or circumstance that your caravan offers them at any cost that they can bear, including their own lives. So, all of that said, we are into our initiatives here. You should know that if you did not succeed at that saving throw, you are also pinned. So you are currently restrained under rubble. You can free yourself if you are restrained through magical means or even strength checks, or if you can convince me, I might even allow you acrobatics checks or something to squirm your way out of a circumstance if you find yourself trapped in such a way. So, is there anyone that is not trapped at this point?
Me.
Nice. So, I think you guys can all fairly easily see the caravan wreckages there that represent the carriages that you were sitting in this particular instance. Probably having another uncomfortable conversation. Barrick and Develian were in the same carriage because that's the way that you guys rolled.
Yep.
And so Develian, you are not restrained, but there is a lot of rubble around you, so you are prone. But you are visible enough that someone you don't really have the ability to tell exactly who. Someone has a light crossbow and they attack you. Because you have not acted yet, bear in mind you don't have a reaction right now, so you cannot use your shield spell in this. And they got a 16 to hit you. Does that hit?
Yeah, it does, because we don't have all of our stuff equipped, so it hits me at exactly 16.
I mean, I'm going to assume that you guys are wearing your armor and weapons. This is quite notably the more dangerous side of Intresca. So it's meritorious for you to be wearing your armor, I think.
Well, then let me restate that. It does, in fact, hit me.
Okay. So you take 6 points of piercing damage as this crossbow bolt pierces into your arm. And for what it's worth, the bolt itself was very dull as it went in, and that probably caused more damage just by being dull and like rending your flesh more than it normally would. And the crossbow bolt practically breaks as you like yank it out of your arm and toss it aside.
Great.
And that brings us to Asker. I'm sorry, Barrick. Asker Barrick.
It's fine. Okay. So I'm pinned underneath rubble. I would like to pry myself out of it using strength.
All right.
Brute
Give me
strength.
a athletics check, please.
Okay. Fucking kidding. 11.
Your DC was 10. So you are able to, I will say that you are able to pry yourself out. Remember, that takes your action and your prone.
Yeah.
So half your movement to stand up.
Yep,
So
I'll do
you
that.
still have your bonus action and a little bit of movement. As you see a person moving up behind you, you kind of burst out of this rubble, throwing some of it off. I'm assuming that you are very injured as a result of the torrent of hell that was rained down upon you all. And you stand up and see this woman coming at you with what looks to be a barely sharpened blade with very obvious rage in her eyes.
Okay, I am. I'm just gonna prepare myself for her to come at me.
Okay.
That's all I've got for now.
All right. So nothing with your bonus action?
No.
Okay. It now ends up falling on a number of these bandits' turns, and they close in and begin, bearing in mind that, you know, these are just the ones that you see moving in. They close in search of anything, any wealth or anything that they can grab, basically, to try and grab something of value. And that is the majority of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one. Yep. And because they don't, right now, the only people that they can see to attack are Develian and Barrick, but they were mostly down here as they're kind of digging through the rubble themselves. That will bring us to Develian with a 9.
Excellent. So as I stand up out of the rubble, I pull out that quartz quill, and it's a sword suddenly. I spin in the air above my head, and as I do so, I cast a spell. There is elven words that come out and pulse through the incantation, and my body shimmers for a second, and then I disappear as I cast greater invisibility on myself.
Nice.
And then I am going to
You did have to use half your movement to stand up.
To stand up, right.
Just FYI.
And then I'm going to take the rest of my movement to move towards my nearest ally who is trapped.
Okay. You can start to move. What is your speed?
My speed currently, because I am not hearing the song of the blade, is 30.
Okay, so you have 15 feet of movement, basically. That's going to put you more or less to there. You still have your bonus action, I guess? To do something?
Yeah, I mean, I drew my weapon and stuff, so I'll call it good right there.
Okay, wonderful. So yes, you step over to there. One of these individuals that's over here by this log gets to take a crossbow shot. He yells out just to anyone in range for him to listen, "Watch out, they got magic!" as he witnessed Develian turn invisible, and he sends a crossbow bolt at Barrick. That is going to be a 12 to hit, which I believe
will
misses
miss.
Barrick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to Zorvir Ironwind, currently trapped beneath some rubble and rock.
So I sit
And
up.
from what I can tell from my GM viewpoint, not looking too healthy.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm surprised I'm still awake, quite honestly.
Maybe he was sleeping, and that's
Right.
why he failed the saving throw, and now he's very awake and wishing he was asleep.
I push some of the wreckage off enough so that I can not necessarily, like, I'm not trying to escape, more as trying to see what's going on around. And so as I see all these people, I'm gonna and kind of take in what's going on and all of the description that you said earlier. I reach into my pouch and I slip a bit of honeycomb into my mouth, and as I chew it, I begin to mutter, and I'm rubbing a snake tongue between my fingers, which disappears. I'm going to cast Mass Suggestion, so 12 people within 60 feet that have faces on their tokens
Okay.
need to make wisdom saving throws, DC 17.
Okay. So I'm going to say that you're only going to be able to get like 6 people.
That's fine.
because your vision is very obscured if you're not freeing yourself fully. Like, there's just so much rubble and stuff around you, and there's so much chaos of everything in the vicinity that it pretty effectively reduces your range by half, basically, because you have to see the targets, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you're able to get all 4 of the individuals around you, and I will say these 2 closest individuals that are moving to that have moved over to the carriage that has Acris trapped under it.
Okay.
Yeah, so roll this in batches. This is the first roll. You said the DC was 17?
Yep.
One of those succeeds with a natural 20. The others fail. And yeah, all of the others fail. So roll a D. Well, it doesn't matter over much. I'm going to say that this fellow that is over to the west of Zorvir is the one that got the natural 20.
Okay.
And
I'm going to suggest that they help me out of this wreckage and sit down with me for a meal to talk about why it is they are attacking.
okay, and do me a favor and tell me what the suggestion spell says explicitly. Like, is this a 1-turn effect?
Oh, no, this is a
24
hour. 24 hours. Or until the end. Let's see. They have to pursue the course of action described to the best of ability. The suggested course of action can continue for the entire duration. If the suggested activity can be completed in a shorter time, the spell ends when the subject finishes what it is asked to do.
Okay, nice. All right. So those ones, they all went. Do they get to go now?
No, it's not a reaction thing, so on their next turn they would do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So several of these individuals, I am going to just put a charmed token on each of the ones so we know who they are. Mainly for me, because I'm going to forget otherwise. All right. And are you taking any other actions on your turn?
That would be all I can do, I believe. Yep.
Okay. So we have a number of other actions here. 3 of them, in fact. So we've got a couple more that move in this vicinity. And that brings us to Cassia's turn.
Great. She is not at all strong.
She's strong of
so-
heart.
That's true. She is gonna cast Enhance Ability on herself to give herself bull strength to try and get out.
Okay. But that's an action. Is that an action or a bonus action spell?
It's an action.
Okay, so do you have anything for your bonus action?
Not that I want to use.
Okay. So you're squirming a bit under the rubble. There is an obvious magical aura that infuses some of the light of that magic, kind of escapes from the rubble a bit and causes the person that is closest to Cassia to kind of be startled for a second as he's looking through the rubble trying to find something of value. And then that brings us to a few more individuals here. They're mostly just like digging through stuff, and that brings us back to the top of the round. So this individual back here that had originally taken a shot at Develian sees Barrick and decides to take a shot at him. Actually, no, he doesn't, because he already shot his crossbow, and they don't have reloads.
Oh.
So he comes charging into the rubble and screaming at the top of his lungs with his like he has a broken off backhoe that is, you know, sharpened to some extent, that he is basically using as a hand axe, more or less. And he is going to attack Barrick. Oh wow, he got a 19 to hit.
Yep. That'll do it.
Barrick takes 3 points of damage.
That killed me. Just kidding.
Right. Sure. You have more than twice the hit points of Zorvir. You're fine. Not just hit points remaining, total.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Sorry, buddy.
And that makes it Barrick's turn.
Okay. He's going to just shout at the people. We don't have to do this, and he's going to take three attacks. 2 against.
You can do them one at a time and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't have to do this.
We don't have to do it, but like, I don't want to
But
take any
we
more
must.
damage. So, all right. So the first is a 25 to hit.
Yep.
Damage. Yeah, that'll be 14 points of damage. And I'll go
what
to
is
the
the
one to
look
my.
upon Barrick's face as he slays this man,
Oh Jesus!
easily cutting him down? Does his
This.
military training take over, and he is now
mean-
in the thick of battle?
Yeah, it's there, but also, I think he's been out of this type of just like frenzied battle long enough that he can get in the zone, but it's not his favorite. He'll
And then he takes a step this way and goes to attack this other person.
Oh fuck! That's a natural 20 for a total of 31.
Bye-bye.
Barrick, what kind of weapon is Barrick wielding?
It's a special one. So it's a oh man, this poor fucking guy. It's a long sword. It has a bit of a hook to the end of it, and like a falx. Yeah, it does some magical damage.
I mean, it doesn't matter what you roll. So
To the tune of a lot. Yeah.
So basically, Barrick's, after stabbing the one dude basically through the chest, and that fella just basically falling off of the sharpness of the blade without even like any resistance whatsoever, Barrick steps over and almost blindly does a backswing upon this other person, feeling no resistance until his blade cuts into and sparks against the giant rock boulder that had destroyed the carriage that he had been in, and then looking back at the woman standing there as her head falls off of her shoulders cleanly. You still have 25 feet of movement, I think.
I
And
sure
another
do,
attack.
And another attack. Okay. Where would Bastion have been? My carriage, a different carriage?
He was probably riding
Okay.
because he
So
doesn't
I'll-
like Develian.
Fair. All right. Yeah.
And so
I'm
he was
gonna-
outside the carriage at the time, so you don't have sight of him in the chaos of the battle.
Sure. Okay. Well.
I assure you, I am quite well liked.
Oh, so well liked. All right. I'm gonna move here,
All right.
and I'm gonna attack.
Okay.
Oh, 17.
Easily hits.
14 damage.
So as you cut this third man down, just in his stance, shock is upon his face. But then there's also a moment as his life leaves him of relief. And he falls backwards off of Barrick's blade as Barrick turns to look at more individuals around. Let's see. We have a whole bunch of their turns now because you guys rolled shit for initiative. So
It's true.
Barrick, 2 individuals come rushing over here to you. Both of them going to attack you with their makeshift weapons. One of them rolled a 6 total to hit. The other one got a 21.
That will hit.
Yeah. And dealt max 7 damage.
Is it bad that I'm like, oh, good for you, man?
I'm
actually
gonna-
like grabbed the weapon and like directed it better
Yeah.
towards you because
Yeah.
you just felt guilty.
I'm gonna say that it's this woman with the Dairy Maid cap.
Yep.
With like a sharpened trowel, basically, that she like hammered with a rock to like cut serrations into the side of it, as she like stabs it across Barrick's arm.
God.
And then we've got a couple of charmed individuals coming over here to help Zorvir get out of his messy situation that he's in.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, they're happy to help. This fella steps up to here and is digging through the rubble, pulls a piece of rubble away and spots Acris, by the way, because I forgot to take Acris's turn. He actually is
Acris
not
dies. Oh, no.
Let me just double check here. I think he's got Misty Step. Sorry, I did not have his character sheet prepped, which I probably should have, since, he's not here at all. And so in this moment, what I'm actually going to say, because he does have Misty Step, I'm going to turn Acris into a non-combatant here. He uses his Misty Step to get as far away or get out of the rubble as he can. And then he starts engaging with other bad guys over in this vicinity, just because I don't want to have to worry about him, and I don't want something bad to happen to him when Ian is not here. Because
Fair.
I hate that. So Develian, Mr. Invisible, it is your turn.
Alrighty. I'm invisible so no one sees this, but I gesture and I rub my hand across my forehead and down and around my mouth. And as I do so, it's like I throw something out of my face. Nothing. It's invisible. I throw my hand around, and as I do so, I cast Minor Illusion. There is suddenly the sound of someone screaming, "No, get away! They're contagious! They'll kill us all! Get away! Get away!" and I'll have it emanate from the right in the center of where Cassia's carriage is.
Okay.
And then I will move to that said carriage and try to start getting her out of there.
And is this in Develian's voice?
No, it's a random voice. It's like some woman's voice.
Okay.
Like maybe like a bow to the Queen of Slime kind of voice, you know?
God.
Okay.
No.
So Deb, have Cassia roll an insight check
Oh boy.
at
Yeah.
disadvantage, please.
Disadvantage.
Just because she can barely hear everything that's being said, but she hears enough to get the gist of what's being said.
Sure.
And Develian, I need for you to make a persuasion check, please.
Sure.
At disadvantage, it's 25.
My persuasion is going to be even though I rolled a 12, it's going to be a 19.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'm not going to say that Cassia hears everything that's being said. So it isn't a circumstance where she truly just believes that this is, some ruse or something. It's more that she doesn't know what entirely was said, and it just doesn't fully register in her mind in this moment, because that's
Gotcha.
fucking ridiculous. 25. Fuck you. All right, so I need to roll I'm going to do 2 checks. I'll do 3 for these other individuals. So this fellow here, I'm going to say that he is susceptible to this circumstance, and he is frightened is the tag that I'm going to give him, and on his turn he's going to flee.
Nice.
The other 2 that were piled into the rubble, or heading over into the rubble, she doesn't get to move yet, heading over into the rubble, either didn't fully understand what Develian said, or they just don't care. Because I rolled 2 natural 19s
Nice.
on that.
That beats my DC of 18, so you're good.
All right. Then, is that it for Develian's turn?
That's
is he
it.
Is he moving?
Yeah, he moves up to where Cassia is.
Okay. So some of the rubble starts drifting off errantly as Develian climbs up onto the rubble. And that's going to... That bandit is dead. Zorvir, you are up.
So there's a fellow that's next to me that didn't get suggested last time he made his save. Did he get a turn?
No, and he should have. You are correct. The list is actually quite long before Develian, so it's easy for me to scroll past.
Right.
He is digging through rubble to find value in something. So
Okay.
he doesn't actually do anything against Zorvir. And the other 2 individuals that are here have also begun to assist. So I will say Zorvir has advantage to get out of this circumstance, and his DC is low
Okay.
to escape.
I don't want to appear as though I'm trying to get away yet, and so I'm going to reach out, like my hand, almost like I'm reaching out for that fellow who's digging to help me, and I'll be like, "Hey, why don't sorry." No, I can't even think of how to do the voice right now. I'll just be like, "Hey, can you just help me up and just calm down and we'll talk this out." And he needs to make a charisma save, DC 17. This isn't it is a charm, but I'm not charming him to listen and do it. I'm just trying to calm his emotions.
Okay. Wonderful. Let's see here. That is a 4.
Okay. Let's see.
Calm Emotions is an area spell, right?
I can hit people further away, but I'm pretty sure there's no one else within range. that I can see. Yeah,
I mean, you could
that's
calm
all
the people that are charmed too.
Oh, yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah. And they will choose to fail because they're charmed in the moment.
Wow.
Because this is what being 14th level characters is like, guys.
Right.
And attacking peasants.
So I just want to make them indifferent instead of hostile. So really, it's just the one fellow that's hostile, at least towards me right now. So
you shift
all be
some stuff gets shifted to the side, and you make eye contact with him, and he becomes indifferent to you. He was more focused on loot anyway, but now he sees you as not a threat.
Okay.
All right. So dead and dead. There is some digging of rubble over here next to Cassia. Cassia, enough rubble has been cleared that you also have a reduced difficulty on escaping as someone clears some rubble out of the way. However, the other person can see you very clearly now and attacks you while you are exposed and potentially vulnerable. So they have advantage on to hit you. And that is a...
I can only use reaction on my own turn.
No, you can use a reaction if there's an appropriate reaction right now for you to take.
Let me double check real quick. Because...
You want to do your shielding again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm still invisible, so nobody sees this, but I flick my sword in the air, and energy comes out of it and bathes over me, and then the ring on my finger, it lights up, and it also washes over Cassia, so we both have shield cast upon us for this attack.
All right. So yeah, Cassia, this rusty short sword comes down and goes to strike Cassia right in the head. And this magical shield of force deflects it away just before it's about to hit. Something that Cassia has seen just, a few months back when there was an assassination attempt. And that's going to make it Cassia's turn.
Great. Now that I'm super strong, I am going to dig myself out.
Okay. Give me an athletics check, please, with advantage.
All right. You said athletics?
Yes.
Come on. 15.
15, more than enough.
Great.
You stand up, just bursting out of the way. Kevin, give me a dexterity saving throw for Develian, please, as she does not know he is there. And let's see if he can retain his footing.
Natural 20 plus 4, 24.
Wow.
Easily, Develian is able to keep his footing as the violent upheaval of debris is thrown to the side as Cassia emerges underneath. Still have your bonus action if there's anything you wish to do with it.
I just really feel bad for these peasants and don't want to use it.
Okay. So for what it's worth, these peasants mean murder.
I understand.
Okay. Just making sure. All right. So now we have a handful of other peasants here. This fella, the plague! No! The plague! No! And starts fleeing. He's no longer part of this fray. This one continues to actually dig for things, especially with the absence of Acris now in the space. He grabs a piece of loot and starts to flee, and more people are digging Zorvir out. So before Zorvir's next turn, he will be fully freed from his trapping, thanks to the aid of these charmed individuals. So that guy is dead. Asker, Barrick, you are up.
So in Finding Nemo, when Bruce's eyes go black, that's what happened to Barrick, and he's just gonna make more attacks at these peasants. I've heard it all before. That would be a 30 to hit.
Barrick
Does not
Peasants
hit.
friends, not
And-
food.
Totally misses. Peasants are friends, not food. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Damage.
How much damage?
8 damage.
He survived.
Really?
He lived.
Nice.
That hit,
The first hit.
right?
What about a 13?
Yeah, that hits.
Yeah, okay. So that's gonna be another 14
Oh yeah,
points. of
clothed in
damage.
half. Just the few
Incredible.
remaining hit points that he had are nowhere near enough.
It's another natural 19 for a total of 30.
You really like that
And-
number.
I really do. And another 14 damage.
So in a torrent of death and blood, Barrick stands with multiple bodies around him, doing what he was trained to do.
Yeah, it just happens. And yeah, I'm gonna oh god. I'm gonna move closer to my comrades.
Okay. Yeah, so most of these guys that would go next are dead now. So a couple over near Zorvir clean up some of the final trappings that have imprisoned him, and they extend a helping hand to help him stand up. So you can be standing if you wish. And that brings us back to Develian.
Oh, right. So, if I'm understanding correctly, Cassia is up now. She's not buried under anything.
Correct.
Okay,
But
very good.
for what it's worth, she is at less than half hit points, so she looks very injured.
Good to know. Okay. There is that guy still kind of in front of her.
There's two there, yeah.
Cool. I'm going to, again, gesture unseen because I'm invisible. I'm going to gesture, and there is going to be energy that ripples across the edge of my sword, and then I'm going to sing it through the air, and I'm going to attack the gentleman on the right. Doesn't really matter, I suppose.
Okay.
Okay, that's an 18 plus.
Yeah, you hit.
Okay, so I hit. As he hits, there is a greenish teal flame that explodes out of the end of the sword and swipes through him. So he's going to take the damage from the rapier, which is going to be this
Green flame.
Yeah, so he's going to take 6 points from the rapier,
That's copyright, Jeremy.
and
Not
then
allowed.
the teal flame blade is going to explode and deal. Oh, it does roll. Okay. An additional 7 points of fire damage. And
So
then
how much total?
it is going to 6 plus 13.
Okay, yeah, he's dead.
And then that teal flame blade, the teal flame is going to shoot over to the guy next to him. And I don't know if there's another spell check. It just does additional damage equal to the. He's going to take. He's going to take 3 points of fire damage.
All right. So it's a lady, actually. She takes a
She'll
little bit
take
of
3
fire
points
as
fire
this
damage.
burst of flame goes forth. You still have some movement, and I'm pretty sure. Do you have multi-attack?
Yeah, I can attack more than once. Yeah. So I'm going to continue to move. So I step all the way directly in front of this lady, and I'm going to attack her. I'm going to attack. Yeah, I'll just attack her. I'm not going to do anything else with it. That's going to be a 26 to hit.
No, that doesn't.
Okay, cool.
Ah,
So my rapier,
joking.
my quartz rapier sings through the air and it beds itself straight into her throat, all the way up halfway through the blade. And with just surgical precision, there's no joy in this. This is just quick, decisive, quick.
Well, you do need to roll
movements.
damage. You might roll minimum damage.
Okay, I'll roll minimum. I'll roll damage. 1d8 plus.
At which point it's decisive and quick, but she's just hanging on the blade going, still alive.
God.
And then she takes 12 points of damage.
Oh yeah. Dead.
Yeah, and as it buries up, and then as I rip it free, there's like an explosionary sound, and her head kind of vaporizes, unfortunately, from the sonic damage as I rip it free.
Unfortunately. Oh.
So Cassia bears witness to an unseen force, but smelling the light perfume that Develian always wears.
It's not exactly light, but yes.
Okay, I was trying to be nice. Smelling the obvious heavy perfume of Develian directly in front of her as these two individuals are cut down exquisitely and magically. Are you continuing to move, Develian?
I will stay right there.
Okay. So, yeah, that's going because there's a bunch of dead people.
So many dead people.
That's going to bring us to Zorvir.
Zorvir will gladly take this person's hand and stand up. Oh, well, let's see what's going on over here. And
now you have a visual
right.
of the battlefield.
Oh my god.
And just so you know, everyone around you, because there's a lot more here, right, in the vicinity that are not part of the immediate foray on the road. There's a lot more bloodshed happening because your entourages, while not necessarily as high level, can still be peasants. So the members of your entourages that are not buried under rubble and you don't know where they are out there fighting off these peasants and doing so with alacrity.
I'm going to tell the charmed individuals to we're going to get our lunch like I said we were going to, but let's why don't you all just hide here for a moment while I help get this sorted out.
Okay.
I just want them to try and remain safe here. Feel free to go and see if you could find food in the wagon, and we'll start, get lunch ready. Is there anyone in immediate danger around me? I'm not seeing anyone.
No.
I would probably... Let me just double check that it's not...
We are going to conclude here in just a moment if at the end of this turn, as we are basically falling out of combat unless there's something special that you or Deb, Cassia, would like to do in this moment. In these last moments of this fighting battle that's taking place.
That group that's off to the west of us, I would probably use Hypnotic Pattern just to get them all to stop fighting. And I would be using my magic to stop the fighting, essentially.
Sure. All right. And people are starting to flee from the obvious losing that is happening on the side of the peasants. Cassia, or Deb, is there anything in particular that Cassia would do in these last crazy moments of this heated battle as she has emerged, ripped herself from the wreckage, and Develian seemingly saved her from the assault of some peasants?
She would get to a place where she could reach as many of the party as possible and just cast Mass Healing Word.
Okay. So,
thanks.
As we fall out of combat here and move into a little bit of narrative play, the aftermath of this assault is devastating to behold. There are dead people on both sides. Some from the fighting, many of the peasants from the fighting, of course, thanks to some of the martial prowess, we shall say, of some of your group. But also, there are very obviously dead and injured people in the destroyed carriages as well. And we will get to find out next week which members of the various entourages have been slain in this vicious ambush.
It's like a friend pinata.
By
Sorry,
peasants seemingly at the ends of their rope, and in many cases now, ends of their lives. And we will call it there for the evening. These glorious individuals that I get to graciously call friends to play this wonderful game with me. Please, let's go around and give those watching an opportunity to find out who you are, who you have played, where you can be found in the vast webs of the internets. And we will start with Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth, and I play Oscar Barrick, who did some stuff today.
That's one way to put it.
Yes.
It's also known as going to the dark side, Beth.
No, not me.
You see that group of younglings over there?
Oh,
They're
no.
still alive.
What have I done? Yeah, so you can find me on social media at Beth Masco. You can find me here on the Wanderer's Haven channel doing stuff, lots, which is awesome. And I am very excited to see what carnage comes from all of this.
Seems like there's going to be a lot. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Beth. Particularly, I would like to thank you for once again, the city map that you had made earlier that
For sure.
people started to make fun of
Yeah.
you for, which was wholly undeserved. And
Who would do that?
I don't know who they were, but
Come
you know.
on.
Deb,
Jerks.
please tell us who you are, who you have played, and where you can be found on the interwebs.
Yeah, I'm Deb. I was playing Cassia Ortezi, and you know she did less stuff today, but has super great insight, so that's fun. I can be found on Instagram at dsweats. If you try that on Twitter, apparently you get a guy from Texas. So I'm not on
Yes.
Twitter, just Instagram. So that's where I am, and occasional player with Wanderer's Haven.
Nice, and we are happy to have you.
yeah.
Big shout out to Ian, by the way, who cannot join us this evening. You can find him on the internet at Ya Boy Big on Twitter and other places, and he does some pretty amazing. Oh, it's Ya Boy BOI, by the way, Ya Boy Big. You can find him in various places. Participating in many very, very wonderful and amazing streams. Check out his Twitter if you're interested in seeing any of those. And Jeremy, ooh, how did you get here again? Why do we keep inviting you?
Oh, I just raided in,
Prank caller.
right? I just raided in. What channel is this? Hi, I'm Jeremy. This is
Welcome
my
back to
channel.
Critical Role.
Right? Is it Wednesday yet?
Nice.
I'm Jeremy. This is my channel. You can find me on Twitter at WHPubs, which I guess I could say info Jeremy. What's coming up? There's nothing coming up this week. Join us next week for this show. And you can see me on
Monday
Monday.
miniatures.
Yeah, I was saying on Monday, you can join me at 3 p.m. Eastern for some miniature making on Hero Forge here on the channel, which is a ton of fun. Next week, we have a bunch of stuff. There's some Star Trek. There is this game. There's something else.
There's something else there too. Look,
Oh,
Twitter knows.
Dragonflight. Dragonflight's
Dragonflight,
going to
that's
be
it.
fun. Yeah, so yeah, follow on Twitter. And I'm playing Zorvir, the guy who apparently doesn't have to murder everyone in order to survive. He just bends them to his will.
We'll see how that works out for you in the long run,
Right.
won't we? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's always a pleasure. Kevin, I keep inviting
Yes.
you back to these things too, and I'm sorry that everyone hates you for it.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know why we're doing this still. Yeah, no, I'm Kevin. I can be found online at the socials at KevRan Games. I'm part of the production team here at Wanderer's Haven, along with Miko and Beth and Jeremy, of course, Master Supremo, who started it all. I'm always happy to be here doing this. I run games here. I do some other stuff. Earlier this week, we did a cool Kong Skull Island crossover event with Pacific Rim. That was pretty awesome. Jeremy got to play King Kong. Who doesn't want to watch that? It's
I
freaking
think-
awesome.
I think that's why I was so ultra not violent tonight, is because I got to be
Yeah.
ultra violent
Yeah,
as
he-
King Kong the other day, and I was
I'm
just
telling
like,
you,
oh my god.
he owned. It was pretty awesome.
I mean, being a 350 foot tall, gorilla has that effect
Yes.
on people.
There's that.
pretty awesome. Wow. But yeah, we do all kinds of cool, fun games here that I've run quite a few of, played in even more. Also, I am the U.S. ambassador for Lanata Turna, which is a brand new 5th edition setting that is a grimdark setting in a high fantasy world. We tell stories over there on the Lanata Turna channel every Friday. Miko is my illustrious producer. You guys should see the art and layouts this guy is making. It is robust and awesome, and I love it. But yeah, please check us out over there. But yeah, you'll see us around, and we're always here. Thank you guys so much for letting me be in here and annoy the shit out of you with my really funny character.
So good.
I think
Uh,
Pavilions awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure, as always. I, of course, have been Miko, otherwise known as the _KS_GM on all the socials and stuff. If any of you are interested in anything that you have seen tonight in the world of Ysterra, you can go to ysterra.theoksgm.com, and it's in my link tree. There's links to all kinds of stuff that I do. I do homebrew content as well, and I offer it all for free for anyone to partake in. And yeah, like everyone else has said and taken like 90% of the things that I wanted to say, I produce things here and elsewhere, play games, run games, all kinds of gaming fun stuff. So pay attention to my Twitter if you're at all interested in any of that kind of stuff, and give all of these fine people a follow too, because they are amazing. We are going to get out of here because we are way over time tonight. My sincere apologies.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We will see everybody. Tune in next week when we get to find out which of these illustrious companions are dead.
It's me. I died.
Bye.
Bye.
Not gonna be the dog. Bye.